Chapter 3:18. Pang Nye sneered and said to the fireman, "Brother Fire, since everyone is here, let's discuss the plan to deal with the corpse man." The fireman nodded and said, "Everyone, although there are 8 people from the top 5 martial institutions, the corpse man is not that easy to deal with. His cultivation is at the late astral reaching realm, and we would need at least 3 mid-astral reaching realm warriors to keep him occupied. Plus, there are 2 or 3 rank 7 zombie warriors in his nest. I will not say much about the zombie warriors. Judging from their battling power, they might not be as powerful as all of you here, but their defense is extremely powerful. Without a powerful attack, we might not be able to kill it. Instead, we might be exhausted to death. Besides that, the corpse man also has 4 warriors in white. They seem to have no physical bodies and are extremely creepy. They are all at the early astral reaching realm." Lin Shuihan said, "So, we have just enough people." The great master of the South Rudra Martial School, Xiao Hung, said, "Just enough, which means it is very dangerous. If there is one more astral reaching realm warrior on the corpse man's side, the situation will be very unfavorable for us." Xiao Heng's wife, Long Yu, nodded. "Indeed. Our breakthrough point was the zombie warriors. After killing the zombie, we would then kill the 4 warriors in white, and then we could join hands to kill the corpse man. But the situation might not be as good as we thought. If there is one more astral reaching realm warrior on the other side, they might be able to find a breakthrough point from us." "Fire, is this your plan?" Although Pang Nye and the fireman had the same goal, it did not mean that he did not care about his own safety. Who knew what kind of plan the fireman had, and whether or not he would be included in it? The fireman laughed. "Don't worry, everyone. My good friend, the lake man, will meet with us tomorrow. This way there will be 9 of us. If there is no change on the corpse man's side, it will be easy to kill him. Even if there is a change, we still have enough power to deal with it. If worst comes to worst, the 9 of us can join hands and escape from the corpse man's nest." The lake man, one of the Wild 5, I heard that there are 2 people who have come to the Purple Sun Martial School this time. One is the mountain man in front of us, and the other one is the gold spear man. Where is he? With him, the chance of winning will be even higher. Lin Shuihan suddenly said. The fireman's face darkened as he glanced at Yichun. Yichen's expression did not change. "I killed him." "You killed him?" Xiao Hung and his wife, as well as Lin Shuihan, were quite surprised. Yichen's cultivation was only at the purifying Zhen Yuan stage, which was still a small distance away from the astral reaching realm. Meanwhile, the gold spearman's cultivation had already reached the mid-astral reaching realm. There was a huge realm and a small realm difference between the two. Under normal circumstances, Yichun would not even be able to hurt the gold spearman's hair. The few of them were shocked. The number 1 martial genius of the South Rudra region was way more powerful than they had imagined. Since he's dead, then that's another matter. "Brother Lai Hua, when are we leaving?" Lin Shuihan didn't intend to blame Yichun and directly skipped over this matter. The fireman said, "Let's not waste any more time. Let's go today. Things might change if we delay." "I have no objections." "Me neither. Since that's the case, let's go." As astral reaching experts, they did not like to talk nonsense. Once they had decided on something, they would immediately carry it out. Above the clouds, the fireman said, "The corpse man's nest is right under the ground on the west side of the Devil Grassland. There's a lake there. No wonder we had not found it after all these years. It was hiding under the ground. The Devil Grassland is huge. Without luck, we would not be able to find it." The Green Beauty Mountain was 20,000 miles away from the west side of the Devil Grassland. With the speed of the astral reaching realm warriors, although they would be able to get there in 4 to 6 hours, it would be extremely dangerous to hunt down the corpse man. Going at full speed would definitely affect their condition. Therefore, everyone only maintained half of their normal speed. On the way, they bumped into the lake man, one of the 5 wanderers. The lake man looked like he was in his 50s. He was wearing a blue robe, holding a fan in his hand. His temperament was quite similar to Zhuang Qinghe. With his powerful soul power, Yichun could see a hint of viciousness flashing through his eyes. It was evil and cruel, which was definitely not as elegant as he looked. After 8 hours, everyone had arrived at the west side of the Devil Grassland. In front of them was an endless stretch of lakes. Some of them were big, some were small. Some were gourd-shaped, some were like water snakes, and some were round. "We are here." The fireman was the first to land next to a lake. The great master of the South Ruder of a martial school, Xiao Hung, said hesitantly, "I wonder where the entrance is." "The entrance is right under this lake." The fireman pointed at the lake in front of them. Under the lake, Pang Nye sneered. "This corpse man sure knows how to find the right place." He had set the entrance under the lake, covered with mud. It is almost flawless. "Let me check out the environment under the lake." The great master of the South Ruder Martial School, Long Yu, was still a bit worried. She pushed her Jinyuan and waved her palm over the water in front of her. Something shocking happened. A swirl suddenly appeared on the surface of the water. It slowly stabilized and floated in the air, looking like a whirlpool water mirror. Turn. As Long Yu's palm moved, the whirlpool water mirror kept changing its direction. In everyone's eyes, the scenery under the lake could be seen clearly through the mirror. The fireman gasped. The martial art trained by the great master of the South Ruder Martial School was indeed unimaginable. Although he still did not know how powerful it was, judging only by its mysteriousness, there seemed to be no other martial art that could compete with it. It was almost close to the Sea of Souls realm master-level martial artists. The lake man's heart skipped a beat. He had also trained a water-type martial art, and the water-type Jin Yuan inside Long Yu's body made him very excited. If he could make her his mistress, it would be such a great thing. Unfortunately, he could not afford to offend the power behind her, so he would need to think about it further. "I will have you sooner or later." The lake man was different from the gold spear man. He liked those middle-aged beauties who were still attractive. Long Yu looked like she was only in her 40s, but because she had trained a water-type martial art, she looked very attractive. Her skin was not any weaker than young girls in their 20s. Added with that special aura of hers, she would be his ideal prey. If there was someone who had seen through the whole situation the best, it would be Yi Chun. From the beginning to the end, he had not said a single word. He had been watching with cold eyes. The lake man's expression was very vague, but unfortunately, he could not hide anything from Yi Chun. He could not help but sneer inside. People from the South Ruder Martial School were not idiots, so they must have some backup plans. The leader of the South Ruder Martial School was even more mysterious. Messing with her would only result in death. "All right, I will finish it here once and for all." Yi Chun did not expect to kill the corpse man easily. In fact, he knew that it would not be that easy. But for him, killing the fireman, the mountain man, and the lake man would not be that hard. If the two great masters from the Emerald Martial School also wanted to do something to him, then he would kill them together. It was not because he was very confident in himself, but because of his own power. Today, he was not the same as before. Everything he had learned was top-rank Earth Realm martial arts, top-rank Earth Realm sword art, top-rank Earth Realm movement art, top-rank Earth Realm movement art. Kill Heart Sword and Sky Shattering Clouds were his ace attacks, and the 80% sword intent was his biggest weapon. It was one of the reasons why he could fight beyond his cultivation. Plus, he could step into the astral reaching realm anytime he wanted. With this kind of power, not to mention peak-level mid-astral reaching realm warriors, even if it was a late astral reaching realm warrior, he would not be afraid. After all, even the inner masters of the rank 6 martial institutions did not have a top-rank Earth Realm martial art. Not to mention the Corpse Man top-rank Earth Realm martial arts were extremely rare in the South Ritter region. Even all the rank 6 martial institutions would only have a couple of them. He believed that no matter how powerful the Nine Ghost cult was, it would still be impossible for everyone to have one. The 108 Ghost Warriors were only equivalent to the core masters of a rank 6 martial institution. All these advantages had made Yi Chun not afraid of the fireman's evil plan. Even if it did not work out, with his separating shadow flying art, it would not be a problem for him to leave this place. There is no danger. The water mirror disappeared as Long Yu shook her head. "Then let's go down," the fireman suggested. The underwater environment was not a problem for everyone. Even mortal realm warriors could stay underwater for a long time. Not to mention that everyone here was an astral-reaching realm warrior who had the power to fly in the sky and dive into the ground. Normal natural environment would not be able to stop them at all. Opening up his fake Zhen Yuan lair, Yi Chen followed everyone into the water. Piss off. Not long after they entered the water, a huge underwater beast approached them. It was killed by Pang Nia with one palm attack, and its dead body was thrown out of the water. The fireman controlled his excitement and said with his Zhen Yuan, "The entrance is over there. Everyone, follow me." After he finished talking, he took the lead, using his red protective Zhen Yuan layer to sneak in at an extreme speed. He was as fast as a ghost, like a flickering lamp in the water. Soon, they found the corpse man's nest. At the bottom of the lake, on the side of a huge rock mountain, there was an entrance that was covered with water plants. As the plants were shattered, the entrance could be seen clearly. It was around 10 meters wide and led straight down. It looked like a tunnel to hell. Under the protection of their Zhen Yuan layer, everyone did not care about what was in front of them. If it were not for the fact that they were afraid that the corpse man would hear them, they would have been able to break in with brute force. It would be a piece of cake for them. Who? The fireman was the first to sneak in, followed by the mountain man and the lake man. Let's go in as well. Xiao Heng and Long Yu glanced at Yi Chen. Among everyone here, only Yi Chen was on their side. Yi Chen nodded and smiled. Seniors, I will go in first. Since the Green Lotus Sword spell was a martial art trained by sword artists, Yi Chen's fake Zhen Yuan was extremely sharp. It was unbelievably fast under the water. When the water in front of him touched his fake Zhen Yuan layer, it was like it had been cut in half by the sword chi. It did not pose much of a resistance at all. Pitch black. Everywhere was pitch black. There was no light at all. No one knew how deep the entrance to the corpse man's nest was. Everyone could only feel that they were getting further and further away from the lake. The surroundings were strangely quiet, without any noise. Splash. After an unknown amount of time, everyone reappeared on the water surface. However, it was not the original water surface, but the underground water surface that was connected to the lake. Chapter 319. Everyone be careful. Once they got out of the water, Xiao Heng and Long Yu took out their own weapons. What surprised Yi Chen was that both of their weapons were mid-rank great weapons. Xiao Heng had a blade, while Long Yu had a half-moon saw. Although they had suppressed the aura of the mid-rank great weapons, that light pressure was still frightening. The fireman's pupils shrank. With the increase of cultivation, the importance of the great weapons had increased as well. The low-rank great weapons could only increase the attacking power of warriors below the astral reaching realm by 10 to 20%. In the hands of astral reaching realm warriors, it would be great if they did not break. However, the mid-rank great weapons were different. They could increase the attacking power of astral reaching realm warriors by more than 30%, and 40% would be the top mid-rank great weapons. Both of them were mid-astral reaching realm warriors themselves. With the mid-rank great weapons, they would be able to compete with peak-level mid-astral reaching realm warriors. In other words, Xiao Heng and Long Yu's attacking power would not be weaker than anyone among the 8 of them. Mid-rank great weapons. These things are hard to come by. Yi Chen had been to the trading palace in the martial city before, so he naturally knew how precious the mid-rank great weapons were. If he was lucky, he might be able to see 1 or 2 within a month. If he was unlucky, he might not even see one in a year and a half. Every time one appeared, it would be bought by someone immediately, and no one would complain about the high price. The price of a mid-rank great weapon would be at least 50 times more than a low-rank great weapon. Normal astral reaching realm warriors would not be able to afford it, unless they were powerful astral reaching realm warriors from rank 6 martial institutions. However, increasing the attacking power by 30 to 40% might not necessarily increase the battling power by 30 to 40%. The battling power is affected by many factors, so it should not be the same. Letting out a breath, Yi Chen took out the Star Scar sword from his storage ring and wore it on his left waist. He had bought this sword from the trading palace in the martial city, and it was definitely one of the top low-rank great weapons. It could increase the attacking power of a clasping Yuan realm warrior by 20%. Although once he reached the astral reaching realm, the Star Scar sword would not have that effect anymore. But Yi Chen had a lot of tricks up his sleeves, so he was not lacking in attacking power. Let's go. The fireman looked away, glanced at Yi Chun, and said in a low voice, This time, the corpse man is dead for sure. The mountain man sneered. The last 3 words, dead for sure, were spoken in a very low voice. Yi Chun's gaze was indifferent, his eyelids slightly drooping. Patter, patter. Light footsteps sounded one after another in the dark environment. Spreading out his soul power with his body as the center, Yi Chun realized that this strange underground world was not small at all. With his current soul power, he could only explore a very small part of it. Even after gathering his soul power into a straight line, he still could not find the edge of the underground world. This underground world was not very humid. On the contrary, it was somewhat dry. If an ordinary person stayed here for a period of time, they would easily suffer from dehydration and other symptoms. So many forks? Peng Ye raised his eyebrows. Mr. Lake waved his fan and said with a smile, There's no rush. Let me check with my secret skill. Oh, Mr. Lake has such a powerful secret skill. Everyone was a bit surprised. Normally, astral-reaching realm warriors would use the same method to check their surroundings, which is to spread out their powerful soul power. They had already checked before and found nothing. The lake man smiled slightly as a watery light spread out from his body. It was extremely thin and seemed to have connected with the water yuan qi in the air. He did not say a word, as if he was trying to sense something. The water yuan qi in all directions is vibrating slightly. It is transmitting. Yi Chun had mastered a soul power that was even more powerful than his soul power, so he could easily tell what was happening. After a while, the light on the lake man's body disappeared. He pointed toward the east and said, There's a sound in that direction, 5 miles away. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go. Under the lead of the lake man, everyone's bodies turned into shadows, disappearing into the forks. There were too many forks in the road. If they followed the forks, they would not know where they would end up. Therefore, they had no choice but to choose between 2 points, where a straight line was the shortest. They used their power to destroy the forks, creating a straight path. It is here. The lake man pushed up his protective Zhen Yuan and cut open the mud wall in front of him with his fan. Save me. Save me. The scene in front of them had changed everyone's expression a bit. In the pool filled with pitch-black liquid, a man whose face could not be seen clearly was soaking in it. His shoulder blades were hooked by 2 wrist-thick iron chains, while his hands and feet were fixed in the pool, unable to move at all. A clasping Yuan realm warrior. Lin Shuihan said slowly. Xiao Hong said, If I have guessed it right, the corpse man wants to turn him into a rank 6 zombie warrior, turning him into a mindless killing machine. Let's save him first. Just as long you finish talking, the iron chains made a couple of clinking noises. Without exception, they were all cut in half. She turned around and saw Yi Chun put his sword back into its scabbard. Move. Activating her water-type, Jin Yuan. Long Yu waved her hand. The pitch-black liquid in the pool started to spin intensely, eventually turning into a wriggling water column that shot out into the distance. Whoa! The iron chains were broken, and the pool was empty. However, Long Yu had puked out as well. In the pool, the naked man did not have a single intact body part. His stomach had been cut open, his thigh muscles had been cut open, his calf muscles had been cut open. The flesh and the pitch-black liquid had already mixed together to a certain extent, giving off a faint metallic luster. So cruel. This corpse man has done all kinds of evil things. Xiao Hong frowned. Lin Shuihan said, The corpse man is not a human being. He is a zombie warrior who has not lost his mind. Therefore, it is understandable that he would be so cruel. Yi Chun nodded. Back in the Heaven Dream ancient region, Yi Chun had heard from Lin Yu that there were 2 ways to create a zombie warrior. The first way was under special circumstances. After a warrior's death, his Zhen Qi would not dissipate and would mix with the corpse Qi. After a long time, the body would become immortal. However, if a living person came to this place, the rich Qi and blood would cause a mutation in the warrior's body, turning it into a zombie warrior who only knew how to kill and eat blood. The second way was to create a zombie warrior. One of the 108 ghost warriors of the 9 evil cult, the corpse man, was a zombie warrior. However, he was different from normal zombies. Because of some special reasons, he had regained his intelligence, which made him even more cunning than human beings. What was even more horrifying was that he, who used to be a zombie warrior, could turn living warriors into zombies. According to him, they were called elite zombies. From high to low, they were iron shell zombie, bronze shell zombie, silver shell zombie, gold shell zombie, and so on. According to the corpse man's own power, the iron shell zombie would be a rank 4 zombie warrior. The bronze shell zombie would be a rank 5 zombie warrior. The silver shell zombie would be a rank 6 zombie warrior, and the gold shell zombie would be a rank 7 zombie warrior. If it were not for them, the man in front of them would have been turned into a silver shell zombie. He is beyond saving. Let's send him on his way. Yichin scanned the man in the pool with his soul power, then shook his head. The man's body had already been corroded, and only his mind was left to support his mind. Even if there were great medicines, there would be no way to save him. Instead of living, it would be better to let him leave safely. After thinking for a while, Yichin took out his star scar, sword seriously, and threw out a sword attack. Pooh! The man's head was thrown into the air, but there was no blood. Sneering inside, the fireman glanced at Yi-chun in an extremely subtle way. He was thinking about what it would be like if he could turn Yi-chun into a zombie warrior. It would be so fun. At the same time, the mountain man and the lake man had their own thoughts. Lake man, please perform your secret skill again and find out where the corpse man is. Right then, Lin Shuihan said. All right. The lake man was about to perform his secret skill when he suddenly frowned. We are surrounded. Surrounded. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Howl! 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 In the dark environment, a couple of black-colored zombies with a faint silver shine rushed over. Their green eyes had lost their human emotions, leaving only cruelty, creepiness, bloodthirstiness, and cruelty. All the evil things in the world could be seen in those eyes. It is the silver shell zombie, a rank 6 zombie warrior. Longy did not have time to think. She waved the half-moon saw in her hand, and a couple of half-moon-shaped blade lights flew out, dismembering the incoming silver shell zombie. Howl! 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 More and more silver shell zombies came over from all directions. With one glance, it was impossible to count them all. There were at least 1,000 of them. How many clasping Yuan realm warriors did this corpse man capture? Right then, even Yi-chun could not help but gasp. Every silver shell zombie used to be a clasping Yuan realm warrior. So 1,000 silver shell zombies meant 1,000 clasping Yuan realm warriors. It was unimaginable. They're all hopeless. Kill! Xiao Hong yelled as he waved his mid-rank great blade in the air. A crashing sound was heard, as a horrifying blade light split the water apart, landing heavily on the place where the silver shell zombies were the most concentrated. Boom! Dozens of silver shell zombies were cut into pieces by that blade light. Snow full bow blade. Lin Shuihan had also started to show his power. He did not push his 70% blade intent, but only waved his snow-white long blade. The blade chi was like a fully drawn arrow, slicing across the air at an extreme speed. Wherever it went, countless dried heads were thrown into the air. Mountain-splitting fist. Pang Nye had a powerful aura as he threw out a punch. All of the approaching silver shell zombies were blown away, their metal-like bodies shattered into pieces. Zhuang Qinghe trained the same martial art as Zhuang Qingxian and Zhuang Fei, which was the mountain and river great art. His movements were extremely powerful, layered on top of each other. Cut. After cutting dozens of silver shell zombies in half with one sword attack, Yi-chun noticed that although the fireman, the mountain man, and the lake man were attacking aggressively, they were not that powerful. He sneered. He would like to see what kind of tricks these three were going to play. Paying attention to the three at all times, Yi-chun killed the silver shell corpses that were approaching him casually. Lake man, why is Brother Kumu not here yet? It is getting late. In the midst of the chaotic battle, the fireman sent a Zhun Yuan message to the lake man. The lake man replied, "No hurry. Today, half of them have to stay. Kumumu had lost 2 gold shell zombies a while ago. We can use them as materials for the gold shell zombies." Hee, that brat will be a good material as well. Too bad that he had not reached the astral reaching realm yet. Otherwise, he would be able to become a gold shell zombie as well. Chapter 320. The 9 of them were all at the astral reaching realm, or at least as powerful as the astral reaching realm. Even if the fireman, the mountain man, and the lake man did not do much, they were still able to clear out the silver shell corpses at a very fast speed. Soon, a huge part of the 1,000 silver shell corpses had been killed, leaving only hundreds of relatively powerful ones. However, although they were powerful, the power gap between them and the others was too huge. It would only take them a couple of breaths' time to kill them, which would not be a problem for them at all. Ayo, 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 ayo. Right at this moment, the roars of the martial zombies came from all directions. The roars were endless, like the roars of mountains and seas, causing the underground world to shake. Not good. This number has already exceeded 10,000. Long Yu's expression changed drastically. They could kill 1,000 silver shell corpses with their power, but 10,000 silver shell corpses would take a long time to kill. Not to mention that the silver shell corpses had a very powerful defense, which was much harder than killing clasping Yuan realm warriors and would consume a lot more Jin Yuan. Yichen shook his head. Its aura is a bit weaker than a silver-armored corpse. It should be a bronze-armored corpse. The bronze shell corpses were rank 5 zombies. They were also made by clasping Yuan realm warriors. The difference was that most of the rank 5 zombies were made by early or mid clasping Yuan realm warriors, while the silver shell corpses were made by mid or late clasping Yuan realm warriors. Of course, although the bronze shell corpses were not as powerful as the silver shell corpses, the number of corpses was still overwhelming. If they wanted to kill all of them, it would take a lot more time and Jin Yuan. Plus, the corpse man had not shown up yet, which made the group feel a bit of pressure. There are quite a lot of astral reaching experts. They'll make up for my metal shell corpse. After the bronze-armored corpse's roar was followed by a cold and cunning voice. The voice was hoarse and terrifying, like 2 pieces of steel rubbing against each other, making people feel like vomiting. The corpse man. Needless to guess, the owner of the voice must be one of the 108 ghost warriors of the 9 Ghost cult, the extremely cruel corpse man who had killed countless people. Rumble. A wall collapsed, and a black-robed man wearing a ghost mask appeared in front of everyone. His body was as thin as firewood, and his fingernails were black and shiny. His withered skin wrinkled together, forming a grayish-black cuticle, like the claws of an eagle. Zong! Burning sparks flew everywhere. It turned out that the corpse man had clashed with Xiao Hung and his wife. His dry and sharp claws had clashed with the mid-rank great weapon, creating sparks. Xiao Hung and his wife were only mid-astral reaching realm warriors after all. There was still a huge gap between them and the infamous corpse man. They only felt their arms go numb before they were blown away. Old ghost, go to hell. Unexpectedly, the lake man rushed towards the ghost man without caring about his own safety. He threw out a palm attack, bringing up a huge wave of power. The corpse man sneered. His pair of claws broke through his opponent's palm attack and fiercely dashed out. Bang! The lake man's protective Jin Yuan was shattered. Blood spilled out from the corner of his mouth as he was blown backward. His route was the same as Xiao Hung and his wife's. Where are you going? The corpse man followed closely behind. After exchanging a few blows, the 4 of them gradually left the line of sight of Yi Chun and the others and arrived in another environment. I see. The 2 great masters of the South Ritter Martial School are not their target. Their target is us. Yi Chun thought for a while and understood a lot. The corpse man targeting Xiao Hung and his wife was not reasonable. He probably wanted them to separate from us, to stall them and not kill them. In this way, no one from the South Ritter Martial School would die, and it would not piss off the leader of the South Ritter Martial School, Long Bai. Plus, the fireman and the other 2 probably had something to do with the corpse man. Everyone had died except for them, which meant that they were obviously working with the corpse man boom. Amidst the tide of bronze-armored corpses, 2 metal-armored corpses with pitch-black skin and a faint golden glow suddenly emerged. These 2 metal-armored corpses were nimble. As they leaped, they were like tiny bolts of lightning, rapidly appearing in front of Pang Nie and Zhuang Qinghe. At the same time, a white figure shuttled through the group of bronze-armored corpses, aiming for the slightly weaker Zhuang Qinghe, intending to kill him with a single blow. Pang Nie and Zhuang Qinghe did not dare to underestimate the gold shell corpses and the white shadow, so they attacked with all of their power. Lin Xuehan, the great elder of the North Snow Martial Academy, was not idle either. His opponents were three white-clothed, long-robed men. These three long-robed men seemed to have no physical form. They were floating in the air, and with a flash, they would appear in front of Lin Xuehan. It was impossible to defend against them. Soon, everyone had been separated. Xiao Heng and his wife were fighting with the corpse man, who was far away from them. Pang Nie and Zhuang Qinghe were fighting with two gold shell corpses and one man in long robes, while Lin Xuehan was fighting with the three men in long robes. All the space outside of the fighting area had been filled up by the bronze shell corpses, making it hard for anyone to move. Among everyone, only Yi Chun, the fireman, and the mountain man did not have any opponents. The fireman and the mountain man were obviously on the same side as the corpse man, and so was that lake man who had pretended to help Xiao Heng and his wife. Therefore, only Yi Chun was standing alone in the crowd of bronze shell corpses, looking at them coldly without changing his expression. Judging from the situation, the astral-reaching realm warriors from the Windy Nation were not in a good situation. No, it was not in a good situation. It was a sure kill situation. Although the original plan was good, who knew that the fireman and the other two would be working with the corpse man in public, trying to kill everyone except the South Rudra Martial School. Even Yi Chun did not think about this beforehand. He only thought that the corpse man would kill him or the others secretly and would not do it so openly. Right now, these two were not moving at all and did not seem to want to help the others. Pang Nie yelled angrily, "Fireman, why are you not doing anything yet?" He had more or less guessed what the fireman was thinking and sounded very angry. The fireman sneered, "Don't worry, I will do it." The plan was going perfectly. Xiao Heng and his wife had been lured away, so they would not be able to hear what was happening here. Then, he would kill the four of them, including Yi Chun, and then the mountain man would disappear while he himself was injured. Then, when he returned to the Purple Sun Martial School, no one would suspect him. They would only think that the corpse man was too powerful, and only he, Xiao Heng, and his wife had made it back, and they were all injured. Of course, it would be impossible for everyone to not suspect him. But without any evidence, the fireman did not think that there would be any accidents. Even the Cloud Dreamer and the Thunder Freer from the Sky Cloud Martial School would not be able to do anything to him. As for the South Rudra Martial School, it was indeed a huge obstacle. He would have to be more careful in the future in case he got caught. Seeing the fireman and the mountain man coming over, Yi Chun said lightly, "Just you two? I don't think it is enough." "Oh yeah? What about us?" From a dark corner, two human shadows flew over. Judging from their chi, they were definitely peak-level, mid-astral-reaching realm warriors. With the combination of four mid-astral-reaching realm warriors, with Yi Chun's current power, he would indeed be killed, unless his fake Jin Yuan layer was able to handle the attacks from the four of them. But that would not be possible, since the gap between their realms was too huge. These two were also the remnants of the Nine Evil Cult. Their status was not as high as the corpse man's, but they were battle attendants. The fireman laughed. "Yi Chun, you did not expect this day, did you? Originally, the ones who would die would be the Cloud Dreamer and the Thunder Freer. Who asked you to be so arrogant and join this mission? This time, you will die for sure. I will ask the Deadwood brother to turn you into a silver shell corpse and let you suffer a pain worse than death." Yi Chun shook his head. The fake Jin Yuan inside his body started to vibrate for the last time as he said lightly, "Don't joke around. I happen to have no reason to kill you. Let's do it right here and now." Chapter 321. Once he finished talking, the fake Jin Yuan inside Yi Chun's body started to vibrate and merge with each other. A crystal bright light was released, and the chi was extremely sharp. At the same time, The fake Zhen Yuan spiral inside his dantian started to expand and shrink. Within a blink of an eye, it had changed dozens of times and finally expanded to twice its original size. Then, it started to shrink at an unimaginable speed, forming an egg-sized blue core. The blue core looked like a crystal, but not a crystal, like a liquid, but not a liquid. It was somewhere between solid and liquid, with a blue halo on its surface. The halo was like the halo of a star, giving people a mysterious and condensed feeling. But of course, it was more about power and shock. Outside the blue core, there were 9 sharp chi flows spinning around it in a regular pattern. Those sharp chi flows were indeed the Green Lotus Sword chi. After reaching the 13th realm of the Green Lotus Sword spell, not only did the number of Green Lotus Sword chi increase to 9, its power had also increased. Each of them was equivalent to one of Yi Qin's ace attacks. If caught unprepared, people who were more powerful than him could be badly wounded or even killed. Plus, Yi Qin had just reached the 13th realm not long ago. After a while, the Green Lotus Sword chi would be fully nourished, and its power would be even more horrifying. It had the potential to become Yi Qin's most powerful ace attack, which would allow him to kill warriors at the same level as him. Of course, Yi Qin's talent in martial arts was way too powerful. He was afraid that before the Green Lotus Sword chi could become his most powerful ace attack, he would create another powerful ace attack, just like the one sword attack, which had been gradually replaced by other ace attacks. It had also been combined with the lone peak kill to form the most powerful sword attack, which meant that there would be no chance for it to show up. The good thing was that these 9 Green Lotus Sword chi were inside Yi Qin's body, which was a close-range attack. No matter if it was his most powerful ace attack or not, it would still be very useful. The second he reached the astral reaching realm, Yi Qin's aura had increased drastically. It was way more horrifying than any other clasping Yuan realm warrior. Because he had trained the Green Lotus Sword spell, Yi Qin's aura was different from the others. It was extremely sharp, as if there were countless saw teeth cutting through the surreal space. This is the power of an astral-reaching realm warrior. It is even more horrifying than I had imagined. No wonder it is so hard for a clasping Yuan realm warrior to win against an astral-reaching realm warrior. There are not that many of them in the whole South River region. Closing his eyes slightly, Yi Qin tightened both of his fists. His aura was still increasing, and outside of his fists, one could vaguely see that sharp blue chi flow spinning, increasing its speed and making a buzzing sound. What? He reached the astral reaching realm? The fireman opened his eyes, the stage of the fire. Mountain visitor's face darkened. Kill. Kill him now, that he has just broken through. Otherwise, once he gets used to using Zhen Yuan, it will be hard to kill him. Yi, 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 and yi. Yi opened. Yi. He had seen a lot of astral-reaching realm warriors burn their Zhen Yuan. So how could he not know how to do it? The soul power that was blessed by the heavens was not something that could be used for nothing. Boom! The Zhen Yuan inside his body rubbed against each other. A wave of blue flames spread out and rushed out of Yi Qin's body. Looking from afar, it looked like a blue, human-shaped fire pillar. As the Zhen Yuan burned, Yi Qin's increasing aura suddenly exploded, reaching 2 times of his original power. 2 times of battling power was an ability that only astral-reaching realm warriors had. How is this possible? How could it be so easy to burn Zhen Yuan for the first time? When the mountain man burned his Zhen Yuan for the first time, he had only made a small flame. Not to mention doubling his battling power, it had not even increased by 20%. It took him a month to master the technique of burning Zhen Yuan. So what if you have reached the astral reaching realm? So what if you have burned your Zhen Yuan? The 4 of us are more than enough to kill you. Die. That muddy yellow Zhen Yuan was burning fiercely. The mountain man was the first one to jump at Yi Qin. On his way, a huge iron hammer appeared in each of his hands, which he threw out. Piss off. Yi Qin pointed out his right index finger in the air. A beam of blue sword chi shot out, carrying a horrifying sword intent. It landed on the iron hammer of the mountain man chin. The iron hammer was a low-rank great weapon, containing Zhen Yuan. Even if Yi Chen's green lotus sword Qi was unbreakable, it still could not leave a scratch on it. However, the attacking power of the sword Qi still landed on the iron hammer's Zhen Yuan, which was then transmitted into the body of the mountain man. Sparks flew everywhere. Blood spurted out from the corner of the mountain man's mouth as he was blown away. Let's work together and kill him. The fireman had already started to burn his Zhen Yuan. As a fire element Zhen Yuan cultivator, once he started to burn his Zhen Yuan, his battling power would not only increase by 1-fold, but more than 1-fold. Compared to the other astral-reaching realm warriors, the water element Zhen Yuan cultivators would only be able to increase their battling power by 80 to 90%. However, their recovery speed would be much faster, and burning their Zhen Yuan would last longer. Whoosh! Whoosh! The other two warriors from the Nine Ghost cult had also started to burn their Zhen Yuan. There were 3 mid-astral-reaching realm warriors, and 2 of them were at the peak level of mid-astral-reaching realm. Their combined aura was even more powerful than that of a late astral-reaching realm warrior. The dark underground world suddenly brought up waves of tornadoes, which blew away all the bronze shell corpses nearby. Kill! Kill! The 3 of them stomped on the ground. The second the mountain man backed out, they attacked towards Yi Chun from 3 different directions. The fireman's weapon was a light red great blade, while the other 2 had a long stick and a pair of gloves respectively. With the burning Zhen Yuan, the attacking power contained in their weapons was even more powerful. They tore apart the air, creating countless cracks in the vacuum space. If the 3 of you combined your power into one, you might be able to beat me. Unfortunately, if you are separated, you will still be separated. Although it was possible to win with quantity, but quality would always be above quantity. Without quantity reaching a certain level, quality would not be able to win. Chin. The star scar sword on his waist was taken out of its scabbard. The bright sword light brightened up the dark underground world. Soon, countless electric snakes shot out, and the misty clouds started to roll. Along with Yi Chen's sword aura, all of them had been thrown out. Crack! The first one to puke out blood and back out was the fireman. His battling power had increased the most, but his basic power was not as powerful as the other 2. Facing Yi Chen's brutal sword Qi, his palm that was holding the light red, great blade cracked open. His feet rubbed against the ground as he was blown back. Green lotus light. The star scar sword blocked back, blocking out one of the remaining 2's attacks. Yi Chen did not change his posture as he pointed out his right index finger like a ghost. He ignored the distance between him and the other peak-level, mid-astral reaching realm warrior, stabbing into his protective Zhen Yuan layer. Pooh! His opponent's protective Zhen Yuan layer was shattered. The green lotus sword Qi circled around his neck once, and a huge head flew into the sky. Damn! Die! The peak-level mid-astral reaching realm warrior who had his attack blocked by Yi Chun saw that his partner had been killed after only 1 attack. His brutal Qi spread out as he threw out another iron fist towards Yi Chen's head. Separate. The separating shadow flying art performed with his Zhen Yuan was especially horrifying. Yi Chen's body shook once before disappearing like a wisp of black smoke. Ghost spirit art. His opponent's flying art was not weak either. He took a step back unconsciously, leaving a dreamy ghost shadow where he was standing. There was a flash of sword light on the phantom, and then it dissipated and disappeared. Hammer mountain pressure. The mountain man came back. He flipped his iron hammer, and the burning yellow Zhen Yuan turned into a 10-meter-tall mountain shadow, attacking towards Yi Chun. Freeze! Yi Chun did not dare to ignore the mountain man's attack. Before, he was able to kill the rest of the people from the 9 evil cult, who were even more powerful than the mountain man. It was all because of the unexpected green lotus sword Qi inside his body. Plus, his basic power was still not as powerful as the rest of them. His sword intent could only increase his attacking power, but not his defense. After throwing out his sword attack, the air within hundreds of meters had been frozen. Pieces of green lotus appeared in the air, absorbing the Yuan Qi in the air. The yellow mountain shadow started to slow down, giving Yi Chun time to dodge. He flashed a couple of times, and his real body appeared right next to the mountain man. The mountain man was shocked. He put away one of his iron hammers and flipped his left hand, creating layers of thick yellow mud wall shadows in front of him, blocking Yi Chun's way. Break! Yi Chun did not stop. He threw out his star scar sword, and a fist-sized green lotus pierced through the yellow mud wall shadows, landing on the mountain man's protective Jinyuan layer. The two were exchanging attacks as fast as lightning. Plus, with Yi Chun's separating shadow art, it was hard to tell which one was the real one. By the time the fireman and the other 9 ghost cult realized what was going on, the mountain man had already been blown away with blood puking out of his mouth. He landed in the middle of the group of bronze, armored corpses. Yi Chun would not give up the chance to kill his opponent. He lifted up his left index finger and pinky finger, and 2 beams of green lotus sword chi attacked from the left and right. One was attacking from the front, and the other from the side. Chin! Sparks flew everywhere. The mountain man blocked out the first beam of green lotus sword chi, but the second beam of green lotus sword chi bypassed his defense and went right through his skull. Crack! His brains spilled everywhere, and half of the mountain man's head fell off. The cut was smooth and clean, with the red and white mixed together. It was a shocking sight. Within a short period of time, 2 of the 4 people from the fireman's group had been killed. Yi Chun's power had shocked them. He had only just reached the astral reaching realm, but he already had such a horrifying power. After all, the 4 of them were all mid-astral reaching realm warriors, and 2 of them were even at the peak level. If the 4 of them combined their power, they would be able to fight against a late astral reaching realm warrior. However, in front of Yi Chun, they could not even work together and were killed one by one. If you were to get a little more powerful, who among the astral reaching realm warriors would be able to fight against him? What did it mean to be powerful? This was it. His body drifted as Yi Chun passed through the group of bronze shell corpses. It was even weirder than those invisible men in robes. Lin Shuihan, who was fighting hard, only saw a blur in front of his eyes, and 2 out of the 3 men in robes had been killed. From the corner of his eyes, Yi Chun's back was getting blurry. Thank you, Lin Shuihan said to himself. He did not choose to help the great master from the Emerald Martial Palace. Whether they were dead or alive, Yi Chun did not care at all. He went back to his own battle, and Yi Chun locked onto the fireman with his chi. I have been wanting to visit the Purple Sun Martial School for a long time. I will take you as a gift. How dare you? You are breaking the balance of the Windy Nation. The fireman was scared, so he tried to sound tough. Chapter 3:22. Yi Chun sneered. It is still better than you trying to kill all the astral reaching realm warriors in the Windy Nation. If the news gets out, the Purple Sun Martial School would be ruined in your hands. Explode. As he spoke, Yi Chun slightly twisted his feet on the ground. An explosive-like spinning power went deep into the ground, exploding under the fireman's feet. It was indeed the secret martial art, Earth Explosion Sky Shock. Boom! Rocks flew everywhere as the fireman tried to dodge out of the way. Next year, today will be your death anniversary. Yi Chun's voice seemed to have some kind of magical power as it went into the fireman's ears. Then, a bright sword light exploded. Within the sword light, a huge green lotus could be vaguely seen. The fireman pushed his Jinyuan and yelled crazily, "Brother Deadwood, save me!" Crack! Just as he finished speaking, his protective Jinyuan had been sliced open by that huge sword light. A bloody line appeared from his forehead to his chin. His huge body had been cut in half all of a sudden. After killing the fireman, Yi Chun looked at the last person. Run! This person knew that Yi Chun was not a match for him, so he did not think about anything else. Do you think you can run away? Using his flying art, Yi Chun chased after him. The two were both astral-reaching realm warriors, so they could run at an amazing speed. Hundreds of meters only took them a second to cover. Plus, since their Jinyuan was way too powerful, it had sucked out all the air around them, making them stand in a vacuum. Therefore, the sound they made was very soft, unlike clasping Yuan realm warriors, who would make a sonic boom when they ran at full speed. Die! Like a maggot on a bone, Yi Chun soon shortened the distance between them, He focused his kill heart sword attack, which looked like a shooting star in the sky, flashing once before disappearing. Swoosh! The man's running posture did not change, but his Jin Yuan had been weakened drastically. A huge head shot up into the sky with blood pouring out of it, looking very unwilling. Right now, I finally have the power to do whatever I want in the South River region. Without Sea of Souls realm warriors, it would not be easy for anyone to kill me. After killing 4 mid-astral reaching realm warriors in a row, Yi Chun felt a sense of pride. Before, although he was extremely talented and had a great comprehensive ability, he always felt like he was in a precarious situation. Therefore, he had to think twice before doing anything and be extremely cautious. Right now, mid-astral reaching realm warriors were nothing in his eyes. Even if he were to encounter a late astral reaching realm warrior, he would still have the power to fight back. Of course, Yichen also knew that the reason why he was able to kill mid-astral reaching realm warriors was not only because of his powerful 80% sword intent, but also because of all the top-level martial arts he had trained. He would not be at a disadvantage in terms of martial arts, and his only weakness would be his cultivation. After this, I have to go to the natural moat gorge to learn the Battle King sword intent and try to reach the next level. If I can train my sword intent to 90% or even complete, then I would be able to compete with late astral reaching realm warriors. Then, I will try to increase my cultivation. Once I reach the peak level of early astral reaching realm, my battling power would reach a very high level. With mid-astral reaching realm, I would basically be able to do whatever I want in the whole South River region. I would also not have to be afraid of some peak-level late astral reaching realm warriors who had trained powerful martial arts. Yichen knew very well that some of the warriors who were stuck at the peak level of late astral reaching realm and could not make it to the Sea of Souls realm would be extremely horrifying. With his current power, he would not be able to fight against them. The good thing was that these people usually did not go out, and there were not many of them, so the chance of running into them was almost negligible. I will take it one step at a time. The natural moat gorge will be my first destination. Taking a deep breath, Yi Chen's mind seemed to have cleared up a lot, and his sword intent was even more powerful. Yi Chun, you and I are both astral-reaching realm warriors from the Windy Nation. Why are you not coming to help us? Without us, you would still die in the hands of the Ghost Corpse Man. Pang Nie's voice was heard. Yi Chen looked over. Pang Nie and Zhuang Qinghe's opponents were 2 gold shell corpses and a man in a long robe. These 2 gold shell corpses were even more powerful than what the fireman had described. One of them had a dark gold color on its dark skin, which meant that it was a rank 8 zombie warrior. Its defense was extremely horrifying, and it could almost ignore Pang Nie's attacks. The other gold shell corpse was also at the peak level of rank 7 zombie warrior. Its light gold color seemed to be developing towards the dark gold color. It should have been a rather powerful mid-astral reaching realm warrior when it was alive. These 2 gold shell corpses had completely suppressed Pang Nie and Zhuang Qinghe. Added with the man in a long robe who did not have a high cultivation, the 2 were in a dangerous situation. I will start with you 2 first. Before Yi Chun could reply, a ghost-like figure appeared near Pang Nie and Zhuang Qinghe. It was indeed the Ghost Corpse Man. His whole body was covered with a dark gray protective Jin Yuan, and the evil face mask was releasing a horrifying chi. It was only a flash, and he was about to kill the 2. How dare you? Pang Nie was shocked. He pushed his Jin Yuan to its limit, and a huge fire wave shot out of his body. It was extremely powerful. Zhuang Qinghe, who was on the side, knew very well that he would not be able to handle a full power attack from the Ghost Corpse Man, and that he would not be able to survive today. He performed his mountain and river great art, and his Jin Yuan attacked toward the Ghost Corpse Man like a huge wave. The Ghost Corpse Man chuckled as he twisted his right hand. With a shoo sound, his right hand went through Pang Nie's fist power and sliced through his left arm. At the same time, he held a golden skull in his left hand and threw it towards Zhuang Qinghe. The 3 passed by each other. The Ghost Corpse Man was holding an arm in his hand. On the other hand, Pang Nie and Zhuang Qinghe had lost their left arm and life respectively. Facing a full power attack from the Ghost Corpse Man, one was wounded and the other was dead. Losing interest in killing Pang Nie, the Ghost Corpse Man turned his attention to Lin Shuihan, who had just killed the man in long robes. Boom! On his way, the Ghost Corpse Man suddenly lifted up his golden skull, clashing with the incoming sword Qi. Kid, you are looking for death. Originally, the Ghost Corpse Man was planning to kill Lin Shuihan first. However, he did not expect that Yi Chan would stop him and attack him with a sharp sword Qi. After killing a huge group of bronze shell corpses, Yi Chan stood there quietly. This is the end. He did not care about the two great masters from the Emerald Martial Palace, but the great master from the North Snow Martial Academy could save his life. However, this Ghost Corpse Man was indeed powerful. He could shatter Yi Chen's sword Qi in a hurry, which meant that he was way more powerful than the fireman Shu. Shu! Shu! 3 human figures appeared one after another. They were Xiao Hong and his wife and the Lake Man. All 3 of them had been wounded quite badly. Xiao Hong and his wife were not sure if it was just an illusion, but the Ghost Corpse Man had not used all of his power yet. Of course, since they dared to come to the Ghost Corpse Man's base, they all had their ace cards prepared. Unless it was a critical moment, they would not use them easily. Xiao Hong and his wife could not just sit and watch Pang Nie get killed, so they hurried to help him fight against the 2 gold shell corpses and the man in long robes. As for the Lake Man, he looked a bit gloomy. He could not see the fireman and the rest of the bronze shell corpses, so he did not know what had happened. Pang Nie, where are the others? Xiao Hong asked. Pang Nie spat out a mouthful of blood. That fireman and the Ghost Corpse Man were in cahoots. There were 2 other powerful warriors, but they were both dead. Pang Nie glanced at Yi Chan with hatred. Although the Ghost Corpse Man's attacking speed was extremely fast, he did not think that Yi Chan would save him at all. Xiao Hong and his wife were shocked. This Yi Chan was unexpectedly powerful. He had reached the astral reaching realm? Was it an accident? Or the Ghost Corpse Man said to the Lake Man, kill them all. Everything is out of our control now. He was talking about the couple. According to the plan, they did not need to be killed because killing them would cause a lot of trouble. But now, it seemed like they had to kill them. Once the fireman and the other 3 had died, the plan had gone into an unknown direction, and the cause of all of this was Yi Chan. The Lake Man had a creepy look on his face. He looked at Long Yu with a hint of evil in his eyes. Finally, he did not have to hold it in anymore. He could just run away from the Windy Nation. The battle had started again, but this time, there was a slight change. The Lake Man, who had been helping the couple, had now become the Ghost Corpse Man's helper. He fought with the 2 gold shell corpses and the man in long robes. Of course, there was also the horrifying amount of bronze shell corpses. Pulling back his attention, the Ghost Corpse Man knew that Yi Chan was the key. Only by killing him would he be able to kill everyone from the Windy Nation. Right now, all he needed to do was to maintain the situation. You are the one who killed the fireman and the rest. Yi Chan did not answer but asked, you must be the leader of the Wild 5, the Deadwood Man, right? I wonder if your original name was the Deadwood Man or the Ghost Corpse Man before the fireman died. He had called a brother Deadwood. Therefore, Yi Chan knew that the Ghost Corpse Man was the Deadwood Man, and the Wild 5 were actually all in the Windy Nation. The only question was whether the fireman was working with the Ghost Corpse Man, or if he had already become part of the 9 Ghost cult. But none of this mattered anymore. The fireman was already dead, and he no longer existed in this world. Both of them are my names. Too bad. All the enemies who know my name have to die. You are no exception. Die. The gold skull was transferred to his right hand as the Ghost Corpse Man rushed towards Yi Chan at an extreme speed. Sky-shattering clouds. Facing the infamous Ghost Corpse Man, Yi Chan did not back out at all. Instead, he lifted up his sword and faced him head-on. Boom! The gold skull clashed with the Star-Scar sword. The dark underground world shook a little bit, and a lot of rocks fell down from above. Who was more powerful and who was weaker? It would be easy to tell. The Ghost Corpse Man backed out 3 steps. Yi Chan backed out 10 steps. The gap between their cultivation was too huge. Even though Yi Chan had trained the top-rank Earth Realm martial art, the Green Lotus Sword spell, and had 80% sword intent, it was still not enough to make up for the gap. However, being able to handle a full attack from the Ghost Corpse Man was already very impressive, since the Ghost Corpse Man was one of the 108 ghost warriors of the Nine Ghost cult. Even if he was not famous for his battling power, he should not be underestimated. Normal late astral reaching realm warriors might not even be able to run away from him. Hee, I am afraid that you will die here today. The Ghost Corpse Man had made up his mind as he sneered. Yi Chen's expression did not change. There was a bloody light burning inside his body as he said, "Not necessarily." "Oh yeah? Then I will see how you're going to fight against me." The gray-black Ghost Corpse Man's Zhen Yuan shot up into the sky. The Ghost Corpse Man held the gold skull in his right hand, looking like a demon stepping on a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. "I said not necessarily. You were able to rule the Windy Nation before, but today, it is not your world anymore." Crack! The ground cracked open as a bloody red chi flow exploded from Yi Chen's body. It combined with his burning Zhen Yuan, turning into a greenish-red color all of a sudden. That intense aura spread out in all directions, blowing away all the bronze shell corpses that were surrounding him. Chapter 323. Just as I expected, the minor blood demon body separating great art and burning Zhen Yuan cancel each other out, only increasing my battling power by 20%. The burning of Zhen Yuan was too powerful, and even the minor blood demon body separating great art could not compete with it. Before, it could increase his battling power by 50%, but now it had only increased by 20%. Plus, the burning speed of his chi and blood was even faster than before, which would not last long. If he had guessed it right, as his cultivation increased, the power of burning Zhen Yuan would increase, and the minor blood demon body separating great art would eventually be eliminated. Of course, under the condition of burning Zhen Yuan, being able to increase his battling power by 20% was already very shocking. It was even 20% more powerful than astral-reaching realm warriors who trained fire element Zhen Yuan. Whoosh! The blue-red Zhen Yuan flame burned brightly as Yi Chen lifted up his head and looked at the corpse man. The corner of the corpse man's eyes twitched. This brat had trained the blood demon's minor blood demon body, separating great art. He did not know how the blood demon had given out his own secret martial art and given it to someone else. Take one of my attacks first. A ghostly wailing sound came from the golden skull as the corpse man took a step forward. It was as if a demon had arrived, attacking towards Yi Chen's head. A green lotus flower seizing art blocked out the corpse man's attack. Yi Chen waved his left hand, and two beams of green lotus sword chi shot out, attacking toward the corpse man's throat and heart. Pooh! The eagle claw-like left hand sliced open the sword chi, while the other beam of sword chi drew a beautiful arc in the air and brushed past the corpse man's chest, bringing up a small piece of disgusting flesh. Damn! Corpse fire! The corpse man was furious. As the golden skull shook, two balls of gray flame shot out, sticking onto Yi Chen's protective Zhen Yuan. This flame is not simple. The gray flame had a strong corrosive power. It did not go out even after touching the Zhen Yuan flame. Instead, it started to corrode Yi Chen's body. Without a choice, Yi Chen's Zhen Yuan exploded, shooting out both his protective Zhen Yuan and corpse fire, killing dozens of bronze shell corpses. The corpse man was caught off guard and was hit by that Zhen Yuan. He backed out 4 or 5 steps, his gray protective Zhen Yuan shaking. In corpse drill. Stopping himself from backing out, the corpse man's 5 fingers on his left hand formed into an awl shape, with 5 hard black nails at the front. Around those nails, a gray-black Zhen Yuan started to spin intensely, forming into a gray-black Zhen Yuan drill. He then tried to drill towards Yi Chen. Shio! The sound of breaking air was extremely soft. In the blink of an eye, the Zhen Yuan drill had arrived in front of Yi Chen. So fast, quick sword intent burst out as Yi Chen blocked the Zhen Yuan drill with his sword. Whoosh! Whoosh! Blazing sparks scattered in all directions. The true essence drill gradually lost its momentum and dispersed. Seizing the opportunity, the gold skull flew out of the corpse man's hand and into the air. Spheres of gray flame spread out like a rain of fire. Shadow explosion. Dozens of shadows exploded. Yi Chen's real body quickly left the area covered by the rain of fire. Most of the shadows were ignited by the corpse fire and disappeared. This kid is too hard to deal with. I have to kill him to avoid future troubles. After fighting for so long, the corpse man had almost used all of his power. Not only did he not manage to hurt Yi Chen, he had even lost a small piece of his flesh. Although he was a zombie warrior, and a little bit of flesh was nothing to him. As one of the 108 ghost warriors of the Nine Ghost cult, he had dominated the Windy Nation for dozens of years. There were at least dozens of astral-reaching realm warriors who had died in his hands. He had never been taken advantage of by a young warrior. The anger in his heart was gradually ignited, and a creepy green color appeared in his black eyes. Ghost roar art. Opening his stinky mouth, the corpse man pushed his Zhen Yuan and formed an illusory skull in his throat. As the skull opened its mouth, a horrifying sound wave burst out. The sound wave had a faint gray-black color, spreading out in the shape of a wave. All of a sudden, the dark underground world was filled with screams and screams, as if hell had reappeared. What a powerful sound wave art! Yi Chen pushed his Zhen Yuan as hard as he could, protecting his mind and ears. However, the sound wave was not just a simple sound. It also contained a power that was hard to defend against. Pooh! Blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth as Yi Chen staggered backward. The others were not as lucky as him. The sound wave had pierced through their ears, making them all bleed out of their orifices. They looked like they were in pain, especially Peng Ye. Since he had lost an arm to the corpse man earlier, he was badly wounded. Being shaken by the sound wave, the Zhen Yuan inside his body could no longer be suppressed. It rushed up, and he puked out a stream of blood. He had almost been killed by his own Zhen Yuan. The lake man was shocked. The corpse man had used his ghost roar art, which consumed a lot of Zhen Yuan. According to what he knew, the ghost roar art was one of the 108 ghost warriors of the Nine Ghost cult, which was just as famous as the Blood Demon. With one roar, it could kill a huge amount of weaker opponents. Even warriors at the same level would have to back out, unable to compete with it. That brat was surprisingly powerful, forcing the corpse man to use his ghost roar art, which he was not that familiar with yet. Kill Heart Sword. Seeing that the corpse man was going to perform his ghost roar art, Yi Chen's face turned cold. He held his Star Scar sword with both of his hands and sank his mind into it, throwing out an attack along with his 80% sword intent. The sword chi was like a pillar, fast like lightning. Crack! The corpse man forcefully released his ghost roar art, his gold skull blocking in front of the sword chi. Shoo! Sparks shot out in a fan shape. The corpse man's blocking was a bit slow after all. The gold skull had only brushed against the sword chi, missing its target. The next second, a bone-deep sword mark appeared on his shoulder. He had almost lost one of his good arms, which was not a small loss. How is this possible? Although my ghost roar art is not that good yet, even a late astral-reaching realm warrior would have their chi and blood boiled under this roar. They would not be able to fight back immediately. The corpse man could tell that Yi Chen was wounded. However, the biggest use of his ghost roar art was actually to weaken his opponent's condition, allowing him to gain the upper hand. Yi Chen frowned slightly. The corpse man's sound wave art was indeed out of his expectation. The good thing was that he had trained the Green Lotus Sword spell, and it had already reached the 13th realm. Although his Zhen Yuan did not seem to be as rich as his opponent's, it was actually slightly better in terms of purity. Besides that, the corpse man's ghost roar art was not that good and had a lot of flaws. Otherwise, the situation would be even more dangerous, since both of them were at the same power level. The two were in a stalemate, neither of them willing to attack first. Meanwhile, the battle between Xiao Heng and his wife was still going on. Because Peng Ye could no longer fight, the couple and Lin Shuihan were slowly falling into a disadvantage. They were being suppressed by the lake man, the two gold shell corpses, and a man in long robes. Let's fight together. Xiao Heng signaled Long Yu. Yeah, Long Yu nodded. A water-like water Zhen Yuan rushed out of her body, which looked extremely heavy. A pinky-sized drop of Zhen Yuan landed on the ground, immediately creating a small deep hole. At this moment, the 8th grade zombie, Metal Elite Zombie, stomped on the ground and rushed towards the two. Big Water, Wave Dragon Break Art. Two loud yells were heard. Xiao Hung and Long Yu's Water Jin Qi combined together, performing an extremely horrifying secret skill. In the middle of the raging waves, a huge dragon that was completely made of water Zhen Yuan broke through the waves. The huge dragon shook its head and tail, and an ancient aura spread out in the air. Oh no! It is the secret skill of the dragon god, Celestial Palace. The Lake Man's expression suddenly turned dark. Boom! The rank 8 gold shell corpse was even more powerful than a peak-level, mid-astral reaching realm warrior. However, the huge dragon made of water Jin Yuan was even more powerful. With a wave of the dragon's claw, it had been blown away immediately. It was like a broken bag being blown away by a defenseless kid. Oh woo! The huge dragon roared into the sky, attacking towards the Lake Man and the others. Blue Wave Spell. Cloud-piercing attack. The Lake Man drew a circle with his left hand while his right hand shot out. It was also a huge wave, but the difference was that there was a long spear made of water Zhen Yuan shooting out towards the huge dragon. The huge dragon and the long spear clashed, and the Lake Man was completely defeated. The huge dragon and the long spear had lost one of its right claws, and the long spear had been shattered. When Xiao Hung and his wife performed that horrifying secret skill, even the Ghost Corpse Man might not be able to handle it, not to mention the Lake Man, who was only at mid-astral reaching realm. The huge dragon's tail swept over, forcing the Lake Man to puke out a mouthful of blood. He had no way of fighting back at all. The other gold shell corpse next to him had also been blown away. As for that man in long robes, there were two of them. Seeing that the situation was not right, they did not try to fight against the huge dragon at all. Instead, they took the chance when the Lake Man was about to fight back and flew to the right. Xiao Hung and his wife knew that they could not afford to lose this opportunity. This secret skill was extremely hard for them to perform. Once their Jin Yuan could not keep up, the huge dragon would disappear. Therefore, they planned to kill the Lake Man and the others while they still had enough Jin Yuan, not giving them the chance to fight back. Evil Corpse Drill. The Ghost Corpse Man had caught up. He threw out an Evil Corpse Drill with his left hand while his right hand held the gold skull and threw it towards the huge dragon. He yelled, "Everyone retreat." The huge dragon had been shattered, and the Ghost Corpse Man backed out for dozens of steps. The Lake Man's face was pale, and he was badly wounded. However, even in this kind of situation, he still stared at Long Yu with evil intentions. He then looked at Yi Chun, who was at the peak of his power. Right then, the situation was completely out of control. The Ghost Corpse Man could not do anything to that brat, so staying here would only put him in danger. "Let's go." The Lake Man and the man in long robes decided to retreat first. As for the two gold shell corpses, they would only listen to the Ghost Corpse Man, so they did not have to worry about them. Ghost Smoke, staring at Yi Chun, who had caught up to him, the Corpse Man threw out 3 black pellets. The pellets exploded, and an endless amount of black smoke spread out. Leave something behind before you leave. The black smoke could not block out Yi Chen's soul power. He waved his Star Scar sword, and a fist-sized green lotus pierced through the smoke, landing on the Ghost Corpse Man's left arm. The whole left arm fell off. The Ghost Corpse Man screamed as he walked further and further away. His evil voice lingered in the smoke. "Brat, wait for me to come back. It will be your death day. No one will be able to save you." Yichen did not plan to chase after him. Before, he had noticed that the Ghost Corpse Man's wound had already been healed. Although he had lost an arm, neither of them had prepared for a battle of life and death. He knew that the Ghost Corpse Man must have left some horrifying ace attacks behind. Yi Chan sneered, "If you don't come back, you might still have a chance to live. If you come back, you will only die faster." Right now, he had just reached the astral reaching realm, so his foundation was not very stable. Once he stabilized his cultivation, he would go to the Natural Moat Gorge to learn the Battle King's sword intent. Not to mention the Ghost Corpse Man. Even Jin Huang would not be able to kill him. Chapter 3:24. Once the Corpse Man had left, Xiao Hung and his wife let out a breath of relief. Although they had prepared for everything before they came, it was still quite hard to face him. Even the big water wave dragon break art might not be able to do anything to him. Luckily, Yi Chun was very powerful. He had managed to block the corpse man all by himself, and had gained quite the upper hand. Otherwise, it would not be the corpse man who had backed out, but them. Warrior Yi, no wonder the leader thinks so highly of you. Long Yu looked at Yi Chun. This old monster is not simple. If we keep fighting, the result will be unpredictable. As they were talking, Yi Chun released his minor blood demon body, separating great art, and put out the burning Zhen Yuan. He then let out a mouthful of turbid qi, which was slightly hot and filled with the smell of blood. The minor blood demon body, separating great art, consumed a lot of qi and blood, which was a huge burden on the body. Even though Yi Chun had been trained by the Sky Demon Flower and had just reached the astral reaching realm, his body was way more powerful than other astral reaching realm warriors at the same level. However, burning Zhen Yuan was different. It was something that all astral reaching realm warriors would try their best to avoid. Unless it was a critical moment, they would not want to burn their Zhen Yuan. The side effects of burning Zhen Yuan and a minor blood demon body separating great art combined together would be too much for Yi Chen's body. Perhaps only Su Jing's body would be able to last for a long time. This was also the main reason why he did not chase after the corpse man nearby. Peng Ye held up Zhuangqing's body and said with his teeth clenched, "Fireman, don't think that I will give up on revenge just because you are dead. From now on, the Purple Sun Martial School will no longer exist in the Windy Nation." In fact, he hated Yi Chun a lot as well. However, Yi Chun was way too powerful, so Peng Ye did not dare to curse out loud. Otherwise, if he pissed off Yi Chun, he might be killed. Lin Shuihan sighed, "Brother Peng, I am sorry for your loss. This time, we have all underestimated the fireman's plan. Before they came, none of them had thought that the fireman would work with the ghost corpse man and try to kill them all. Even now, Lin Shuihan was still scared. The corpse man had left, leaving behind a huge number of bronze shell corpses. Xiao Heng and his wife were afraid that these corpses would leave the underground world and bring disaster to the Windy Nation, so they joined hands to kill them. Yi Chun and Lin Shuihan glanced at each other. Then they also went up to kill those bronze shell corpses that were not that powerful. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed, and Yi Chun had already returned to the Sky Cloud Martial School. After a month of training, Yi Chun had basically consolidated his early astral reaching realm cultivation base. If he wanted to take another step forward, it would not be something that could be done in a day. On this day, Yi Chun bid farewell to Cloud Dreamer and went to the natural moat gorge of Wild Goose Falling River alone. On the way, he purposely passed by the vicinity of the house of Ziyang and discovered that there was a faint glow of blood in the sky above the house of Ziyang. That was the sign of a large number of highly skilled cultivators dying. There were a lot of warriors around the Purple Sun Martial School, some of which were powerful late clasping Yuan realm warriors. Who could have known that the fireman had colluded with the corpse man and killed the great third master of the Emerald Martial School? Now, the great headmaster of the Emerald Martial School, who had lost an arm, had come to the Purple Sun Martial School to take revenge. He had killed the leader and all of the core masters of the Purple Sun Martial School. Even half of the inner masters had died. Since then, the Purple Sun Martial School has completely fallen. There are only 4 top martial institutions left in the Windy Nation. Look, is an astral reaching realm warrior. Isn't that the great master of the Sky Cloud Martial School, Yi Chun? I heard that he had also participated in the operation to kill the corpse man, but he was not injured at all. That great master of the Emerald Martial School had lost an arm. Plus, this Yi Chun has reached the astral reaching realm. He has a horrifying potential. Someone had noticed the existence of Yi Chun. Yi Chun did not pay attention to them and flew directly towards the entrance of the Purple Sun Martial School. In front of the entrance of the Purple Sun Martial School, a large number of disciples and masters had left the mountain. They did not want to stay in the declining Purple Sun Martial School anymore. Plus, they had offended the Emerald Martial School, which meant that the future of the Purple Sun Martial School would not be easy. If they did not make a decision now, they would regret it. Among all the masters, Yi Batian and his eldest son, Yi Feng, were walking down the mountain. Yi Batian lifted up his head and saw Yi Chun. He had a complicated look on his face. This time, the inner masters of the Purple Sun Martial School had been severely injured or killed. He was supposed to die as well, but Peng Ye had asked him if he was Yi Batian from the Yi family. After getting his answer, Peng Ye had decided not to kill him. A few of the inner masters who had a good relationship with him had also been spared. Yi Batian was not stupid. After thinking about it for a long time, he had thought that Yi Chun was afraid of Yi Chun and would not dare to kill him. Right then, seeing the profound qi coming from Yi Chun, he had confirmed his guess. He wanted to say something, but did not know what to say. Yi Chun looked indifferent. He turned around and shot into the distance, disappearing without a trace within a second. The Purple Sun Martial School had already fallen, so there was no need for Yi Chun to find trouble with them. The Wild Goose Falling River was one of the 3 largest rivers in the South Shore region. It was 650,000 miles long, and its main road went through the Windy Nation, the Thousand Thread Nation, the Gray Mystery Nation, and the other 12 nations. Its tributaries were tens of thousands of miles long, covering most of the 15 nations. On the boundless Wild Goose Falling River, Yi Chun flew across the water surface. Last time, I met the Black Crow Man, an astral-reaching realm martial artist. This is the second time I've come to the Wild Goose Falling River, and I'm already an astral-reaching realm martial artist, and my cultivation is even higher than the Black Crow Man's. Life is so wonderful. Looking at the ocean beast of the South Chamber of Commerce, Yi Chun sighed, an astral-reaching realm martial artist. The passengers on the ocean beast saw Yi Chun flying across the sky. They all yelled out in surprise. The natural moat gorge, which was over 17,000 meters tall and divided into 2, gradually came into view. Yi Chun took a deep breath and raised his speed to his limit. Swoosh! Within 10 blinks of an eye, Yi Chun was less than 5 miles away from the natural moat gorge. From here on, I have to be extra careful. Standing in front of the branch of the Wild Goose Falling River, Yi Chun didn't choose to fly anymore. Instead, he stepped on the water surface step by step, approaching the natural moat gorge. Back when he was on the ocean beast, he was slightly injured when he was only 10 miles away from the natural moat gorge. But now, he was completely unharmed when he was only 5 miles away from the natural moat gorge, which was a huge improvement. Inside his storage ring, the Broken Battle Emperor's sword jumped up as usual, but was firmly suppressed by Yi Chun. 3 miles away from the natural moat gorge. Boom! A horrifying sword intent surged out. Yi Chun, who had been prepared for this, leapt backwards and left the area. Horrifying. Back then, the Sky Pillar Mountain was divided into 2 and became the natural moat gorge. The crack of the natural moat gorge seems to be an outlet for the sword intent. I can't even get close to it. What should I do? Before, Yi Chun thought that the sword intent in the natural moat gorge would grow stronger gradually, but who knew that the sword intent would suddenly surge after he entered the 3 miles area. If he moved forward recklessly, he might be injured by the powerful sword intent, which was not what he wanted to see. After thinking for a while, Yi Chun decided to start from other places to see if there was a suitable place for him to study the sword intent. If he couldn't find a suitable place to study the sword intent, he would have to figure out another way. 3 miles away from the natural moat gorge, Yi Chun was flying around it. Soon, Yi Chun arrived at the left side of the natural moat gorge. It was a flat area where many warriors had gathered. In front of them was the left side of the natural moat gorge. There was a huge crack on the top of the mountain, which was hundreds to tens of meters wide. There is sword intent here as well. The whole natural moat gorge had been split in half by the Battle King's sword attack. Perhaps it was because of the vibrations, but the left side of the gorge had a crack. Under the crack was not water, but hard mud and a small stream. If one walked straight in, they would be able to reach the inside of the gorge. But of course, that would be suicidal. Dispersing his Zhen Yuan, Yi Chun slowly landed on the flat ground, 5 miles away from the crack. Nearby, a female sword artist had just recovered from studying the sword intent. She turned her head to look at Yi Chun and said warmly, This is one of the release points of the natural moat gorge. But it is not as powerful as the sword intent on the other side of the gorge. If you are careful, you should be fine. Thanks for the reminder. Yi-Chen nodded. He could tell that the female sword artist's sword intent had reached 50%, and she was also an early astral-reaching realm warrior herself. Perhaps it was because she thought that Yi-Chen was very young and handsome. The female sword artist pointed around and said, I have been here for a while, and I have seen a lot of people training their sword intent here. 7 miles away from the crack will be the best place to train entry-level sword intent. 6 miles would be the best place to train 40% sword intent. 5 miles would be the best place to train 50% sword intent, and so on. Do not be reckless. You also have 50% sword intent. After talking for a while, the female sword artist realized that Yi-Chen was able to stand right next to her and be fine, which meant that he had obviously reached 50% sword intent. Judging from his appearance, he seemed to be less than 20 years old. Yi-Chen chuckled and asked, Then there are sword-shaped plants up there? The female sword artist nodded and said, Yes, but there are all of the top warriors from all of the martial institutions up there. It would be best if you do not think about the sword-shaped plants. But of course, if it comes from a stream, then it would not be under their control. We can fight for it ourselves. Sword-shaped plants come from this stream. Don't look down on this stream. There are a lot of people staring at it every day. If you could get a sword-shaped plant from the stream, it would be much better than cultivating here for a couple of months. If you are lucky, you might even be able to increase your sword intent. If you're not, you might even be able to accumulate some sword intent knowledge. Oh, it seems like this place is quite popular. The female sword artist said disappointedly, I have seen a couple of sword-shaped plants coming out from the stream, but they had all been taken by the powerful warriors in front of us. What can I do? My sword intent could not go any further. Otherwise, I would be able to join the fight. In this place, cultivation did not have much of an influence. The main thing was still the sword intent. If one sword intent was high, then they would be able to get close to the crack. If one sword intent was low, then they would only be able to watch others fight for the plants. Perhaps your luck will change. After understanding some of the common sense, Yi-Chen decided not to stay any longer. He prepared to walk closer. What are you doing? The female sword artist covered her mouth. In her sight, Yi-Chen's body flashed once and appeared 5 miles away from the crack. The sword intent there did not affect him at all. It was not over yet. Yi-Chen continued to walk. Soon, he was 3 miles away from the crack, and then 2 miles away. Oh my God, 80% sword intent. How did he learn it? The female sword artist looked like she could not believe it. There were not many sword artists near the crack. There were only 3 of them. One was an elder in his 60s, and the other 2 were middle-aged men with cold faces. Seeing Yi-Chen walking over, the elder seemed to be thinking about something. The 2 middle-aged men's expressions changed a couple of times. They were obviously shocked by Yi-Chen's sword intent realm. Yi-Chen did not care about them. He only stopped when he was at the very front of the crack. The sword intent here is just within my limit. I will train it here. Taking out his star scar sword and wearing it on his left waist, Yi-Chen glanced at the elder and the 2 middle-aged men. Seeing that they did not have any strange reactions, he then closed his eyes slightly, feeling the mysterious sword intent leaking out. Chapter 325. After a whole hour, Yi-Chen finally woke up from his training state. Compared to the sword-shaped plant, the sword intent that leaked out from the crack contained more information, but it was also more chaotic. It was not as orderly as the sword-shaped plant. Yi-Chen now understood why the sword-shaped plant was so popular. Although he could train the sword intent in the natural moat canyon at any time, without any obstacles or time limit, the sword intent in the canyon was so powerful. Being covered by the sword intent, he would be like a fish swimming against the current, unable to see the whole river flow. He could only passively accept the information that he could get. After 2 hours, the information that Yi-Chen had received was all fragmented and messy. Wanted to learn something from it would be extremely difficult. However, the sword-shaped plant was different. It had absorbed the sword intent from the canyon and made a simple arrangement, which made the training easier. In other words, it was a weaker version of the sword intent of the Battle King. Of course, it was at least 1,000 times weaker, which was extremely different from the complete sword intent of the Battle King. No rush. Although the sword intent is fragmented, it is not completely useless. At least, it can increase my sword intent foundation. In the future, I might be able to connect them together. A few thoughts flashed through his mind as Yi Chun continued to sink into his training state. 3 days had passed in a row. A few of the sword artists within miles had left, and a few more had come. The number had always been the same. That kind-hearted female sword artist was very patient. She had been staying where she was without moving. She would occasionally look towards Yi Chen's direction. Whoosh, whoosh. That day a crazy wind suddenly blew out from the crack. The wind was like a dragon's roar, a tiger's roar, or even a ghost's cry. It was extremely horrifying. Wind, wind. The sword artists at the back saw it, and their faces were filled with excitement. Yi Chen thought about it. Could it be that the wind would bring the sword-shaped plant out? That would explain why everyone, including the female sword artist, were so excited. Shoo! Just as he thought about it, a sharp, air-piercing sound was heard from within the heavy wind. He looked up and saw a sword-shaped plant shoot out from within the gray wind. This sword-shaped plant contained a powerful sword intent. Although it was not controlled by anyone, it still displayed a shocking attacking power. It was like an unsheathed great sword. This is mine. Near Yi Chun, a skinny middle-aged man with a cold face jumped up from the ground, trying to grab the plant. This sword-shaped plant should be mine. The old man in his 60s laughed out loud. He stomped on the ground and sent out waves of earth as he chased after the thin, middle-aged man. The speed of the two was extremely fast. They approached this sword-shaped plant in an instant and started a fight for it. Who dares to fight with me? The other middle-aged man was not as fast as the other two, but the sword-shaped plant was something he had to get. He opened his 5 fingers, which contained sword light. He grabbed in the air, and 5 beams of sword light interweaved together, shooting out. The 3 of them did not pull out their swords. 4 sword artists, once they pulled out their swords, there would be blood. It was not the time for them to risk their lives yet, so they were all holding back. Yi Chen smiled. His body disappeared with the wind. When he reappeared, he was already on the other side. He extended his arm and picked up a sword-shaped plant from the air. What? There's another one? I cannot even hear anything. Damn it, the 3 of us fought to the death, and he got one so easily. The 3 of them who were fighting for the plant looked bad. In the end, it was the elder who was more skillful, and he got the plant. Little brother, you have sharp senses. Impressive. Putting away the plant, the elder moved away from the 2 middle-aged men and looked at Yi Chun with a smile. Yi Chun said, "You were attracted by the first plant. It is not because of my sharp senses." Yi Chun would not dare to underestimate the 3. Before, his sword intent was his advantage, and it was also one of the reasons why he could fight beyond his realm. However, these 3 people's sword intent was not weaker than his, so it would be impossible for him to get the upper hand with his sword intent. Especially that elder, he had the highest cultivation among the 4, reaching mid-astral reaching realm. The other 2 middle-aged men were not bad either, both at peak level early astral reaching realm, which was higher than Yi Chun. Is that so? The elder obviously did not believe what Yi Chun had said. As a sword artist, his senses were already very sharp. It was not that they had never seen a couple of plants shooting out at the same time, but this time they did not sense anything at all. Yi Chun being able to sense the second plant so easily was enough to explain the situation. If he was only a bit interested in Yi Chun before, then right now he had already considered Yi Chun as a powerful opponent for the plant. As for the 2 middle-aged men who did not get the plant, a strange light flashed through their eyes. They seemed to want to take Yi Chun's plant by force, but they were also quite scared of him. The wind is still blowing. Let's see what we can do. Yi Chun did not expect them to believe him. Lowering his attitude was just to ease the atmosphere. If they were too aggressive, he would not mind fighting with them. The 4 of them had their own thoughts as they focused on the gray wind. Behind them, a lot of sword artists started to yell. They got it again. We can't even get the leftovers. What can we do? They are in the 2-mile area, which is the front line. We are too far away, and the plant would not be able to get here. Sigh. Before, there were only 3 of them. Sometimes there would be 1 or 2 fish that slipped through the net. Now, there's one more. Our chance of getting the plant is getting lower and lower. It was very rare for the wind to blow inside the crack. It would only happen once or twice a month. Every time the wind blew, it would be the time when the plant would appear the most. Basically, there would be a different amount of plants flying out. Therefore, a lot of sword artists were looking forward to the wind inside the crack. They wished that it would blow every day. Although there were plants flying out of the stream, the speed of the stream was way too slow. The chance of the people behind them getting the plant from the stream was almost 0, unless there was no one in front of them. The female sword artist saw that Yi Chun had gotten a sword-shaped plant so easily, so she was a bit surprised. Those 3 in the 2-mile area were not simple at all. A lot of powerful warriors had tried to fight against the Battle King's sword intent, trying to take the food from them, but they had all been killed without a doubt. However, facing Yi Chun, who had gotten a sword-shaped plant, the 3 did not even try to take it. It seemed like they were quite afraid of him. Sighing, the female sword artist forced a smile. She was only 1 step away from the 60% sword intent. If she had a plant, she might be able to make it. Unfortunately, she had not even touched a plant in the past couple of months. She could only watch it fall into someone else's hands. Shoo! 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 Right at that moment, the wind inside the crack became even more intense, bringing up a tornado. At least 8 or 9 plants shot out as fast as lightning, flashing once and disappearing. Good timing. The elder did not care about anything else. He reached out his hand and grabbed 2 of them. The other 2 middle-aged men were a bit weaker, but they both got 1 each. The fastest one would have to be Yi Chun. Before the sword-shaped plants appeared, his body had already jumped into the air. His body flashed, and 3 plants landed in his hand. No matter it was the timing, the movement, or the horrifying coordination, it was all frightening. The 4 of them had gotten 7 plants in total. The remaining 2 went through the air above them, reaching the 3-mile area. All the sword artists in the 3-mile area jumped into the air at the same time. However, the plants were way too fast. They went right through them and reached the 4-mile area. I got one. One of the sword artists in the 4-mile area was lucky. One of the plants had been shot in the same direction as him. There's still one more. The female sword artist was in the 5 miles area. She was already prepared to be empty-handed, but just like Yi Chun had said, her luck would eventually change. The last plant landed right in front of her, sinking 3 inches deep into the ground. The tail of the plant could not stop shaking. I got one just like this. She still could not believe it. In case something bad happened, she hurried to pull out the plant and threw it into her storage ring. A satisfied expression appeared on her face. With this plant, it is not impossible to increase my sword intent to 60%. All the sword artists in the 3-mile area and the 4-mile area who did not get any plants were almost going crazy. 9 plants. They did not even get one. If Yi Chun and the other 3 could get it, it would be fine, since they were very powerful and had a high level of sword intent. No one would dare to fight against them. As for the remaining 2 plants, why would they not be theirs? 6 swordsmen surrounded the man who had the sword-shaped plant in the 4-mile area. Between his life and the plants, the man chose to give up. He looked disappointed. Soon, the 6 of them arrived near the female sword artist and surrounded her. If you know what's good for you, hand over the plants. Otherwise, you'll lose your life. The female sword artist backed out a couple of steps. It is mine. I will give you 3 breaths of time. If you do not hand it over, you will die. The leading sword artist threatened. I will not hand it over. I stay here for a couple of months every year. This is my first time getting one. The female sword artist said angrily. You want to do this the hard way? Kill her. The 6 of them pulled out their weapons, their Zhen Yuan exploding violently. In the 2-mile area, Yi Chun shook his head. Under the surprised look of the elder and the 2 middle-aged men, he walked towards the 5-mile area step by step. Get the fuck back to your positions. Without wasting any time, Yi Chun yelled. Brat, this is our business. You better stay out of it. Don't think that just because you have a high level of sword intent, we will not be able to do anything to you. Battling power is not something that can be supported by sword intent alone. Yichen's power was still quite powerful. Otherwise, they would have attacked him already. The female sword artist was both grateful and worried, afraid that Yi Chen would be taken advantage of. Having a high level of sword intent was one thing, but having a high battling power was another. The two were not equal. Chin. The star scar sword was pulled out halfway. That horrifying sword light cut out a crack on the ground. The crack spread out at an unimaginable speed until it reached under the 6 people's feet. I will say it again. All of you get the fuck off. Yichen looked cold. These 6 people were all at early astral reaching realm, and one of them was at mid-astral reaching realm. They all had 60 or 70% sword intent, but their martial arts and sword arts were way weaker. So, Yichen did not care about them at all. Brat, you are looking for death. The leading mid-astral reaching realm warrior could not hold it anymore. He yelled as his Zhen Yuan started to burn crazily, throwing out a sword attack towards Yichen. Chapter 3:26. His blue robes fluttered in the air as Yichen took out his star scar sword. The second he did so, his green lotus Zhen Yuan had already started to burn fiercely. A pure blue fire wave exploded, bringing up a light pattern in the surreal space. This kind of power was normally only available to mid-astral reaching realm warriors. Shoo! Taking out his sword, Yi Chen threw out a sword attack towards his opponent. Within that blue sword light was a majestic green lotus, which seemed to support the sky while its roots pierced into the ground. The sword light sliced down heavily with an unstoppable momentum. It was indeed the most aggressive ace attack of the green lotus sword arts. Green Lotus Mountain opening. The ground cracked open, and the person who had thrown out the sword attack was shocked. He was obviously the one who had thrown out the first attack, so how did his opponent get there first? Plus, that sword light contained an unimaginable power. Facing it, he felt like he was about to be torn apart, which made his scalp go numb. Seal it. As the sword was about to land, the person changed his sword movement, trying to block out Yi Chen's sword light. Boom! A thick layer of the ground was shaved off. That sword artist's feet rubbed against the ground as he was blown away, puking out a huge mouthful of blood. The star scar sword created a sword flower in the surreal space, cutting through the air. The poetic perspective was horrifying. Yi Chen's gaze landed on the other 5. This is the holy land for sword artists. I did not want to kill you all. Back off. Yes, yes. The 5 saw that even the most powerful among them could not handle one sword attack from Yi Chen, so they did not dare to stay any longer. In a battle between sword artists, life and death was only a matter of a few attacks. As for that sword artist who had been beaten back by Yi Chen, he also did not dare to challenge him again, so he quickly left the place. He had been wounded quite badly and would need some time to heal up. Otherwise, it would be hard for him to fight against the sword intent leaking out of the crack. Thank you. The female sword artist closed her slightly open mouth and thanked him. Putting his sword back into its scabbard, Yi Chen waved his hand and said, "This is my first time here, so I would like to thank you for telling me some common sense. These are just small things. No need to thank me. All right, you be careful. I still need to collect more sword-shaped plants." Although 4 sword-shaped plants could help him reach 90% sword intent, but Yi Chen planned to accumulate enough sword-shaped plants all at once. Plus, the sword intent that leaked out from the crack was not completely useless. The messy information of the sword intent would eventually be sorted out, and he might have to rely on it to break through to the peak level sword intent in the future. Returning to the 2-kilometer area, Yi Chen pushed the matter from his mind. The middle-aged man, who was also in the 2-mile area, felt lucky that he did not try to steal his sword-shaped plant earlier. Not only had his sword intent reached 80%, his battling power was also terrifyingly high. Being able to fight beyond his cultivation, he was probably not weaker than the elder, and might even be slightly stronger than him. The elder chuckled and gave up on the idea of stealing the plant. He would have plenty of chances to get more sword-shaped plants in the future, so there was no need to risk his life for it. It was not worth it. Yichen did not know what the others were thinking. and even if he did, he would not care. It was not because he was arrogant, but even without his martial arts and sword arts, his sword intent was still not something they could compete with, because they did not have the Battle King's sword, and their comprehensive abilities were not as good as his either. Although they were both 80% sword intent, Yi Chen's sword intent contained the immortal mentality, which was an insurmountable advantage. It was also the foundation for him to survive. With the Battle King's sword, I will be able to use at least 10 times more efficiently than these people. What a shame. It was not that Yi Chen did not have the thought of stealing the plant, but after thinking about it, he decided to give up. He was not a demonic man who would rather sacrifice others to strengthen himself. Therefore, there would be no difference between him and the other 6 people. If he wanted to be powerful, he would have to be powerful in an upright way and not let his sword intent be covered by dust. His sword intent was a vast sword intent, an indestructible sword intent. Unknowingly, Yi Chen's sword intent had gotten firmer, and no evil could get through it. The wind gradually weakened until it disappeared, and the ground returned to its original peace and quiet. 5 plants should be enough. I will leave first. The elder could not wait any longer, and wanted to try to break through to the 90% sword intent. After all, he had already gotten 2 plants before, so it was not like he did not have the chance to break through to the 90% sword intent. Plus, with Yi Chen here, he did not know when he would be able to get more plants. After the elder left, the 2 middle-aged men and the sword artist behind him were the ones who were excited. Yi Chen did not care about anything, and just quietly trained his sword intent. After 10 days, the 2 middle-aged men left as well. Only Yi Chen was left in the 2-mile area, and there were not many sword artists in the 1-mile area. Opening his eyes, Yi Chen thought to himself, during these 10 days, there were 2 sword-shaped plants that flowed out of the stream. I got both of them. In total, I have 6 sword-shaped plants, which should be enough for me to break through to the 90% sword intent. If I cannot, then it means that it is not the right time for me to break through yet, and the foundation of my sword intent would not be stable. However, it was already enough for him to break through to the 90% sword intent. If he wanted to break through to the next level, it would be even harder. He would have to wait until he got all 9 of them. Yi Chen was very ambitious. This time, he not only wanted to break through to the 90% sword intent, but he also wanted to break through to the advanced level. Of course, the possibility was very low. 80% to 90% was already hard enough, and from 90% to the advanced level, it would be even harder than from the beginner level to the 90% sword intent. If he really wanted to break through, even if Yi Chen had the Battle King's sword, he would need at least 20 to 30 sword-shaped plants. If it were someone else, it would be almost impossible for them to break through to the advanced level with just the sword-shaped plants, unless they were extremely talented in the sword arts, which meant that they were 2 or 3 times more talented than Yi Chen. Yi Chen had never heard of this kind of genius before. Breaking through to the advanced level sword intent was Yi Chen's biggest goal. After that, he wanted to at least stabilize the 90% sword intent. After all, 99% was the advanced level, and the gap between the 2 was not small at all. If he wanted to do it all at once, then he would have more hope. If he did it intermittently, then he would lose a lot of inspiration. After another 10 days, Yi Chen got another sword-shaped plant. The female sword artist was getting ready to leave. She was planning to say goodbye to Yi Chen, but seeing that he was still focused on his sword intent, she had to leave helplessly. The next day, there was a rare wind in the crack. However, compared to last time, the wind was much weaker, and there were only 3 sword-shaped plants. With 3 sword-shaped plants in his hand, Yi Chen had 10 sword-shaped plants in his storage now. It is time to leave. I have to give the others some chances. The sword artists who came here mainly wanted to learn the Battle King's sword intent that had leaked out from the crack. The sword-shaped plants were an extra reward, but they could not get anything from it at all. Obviously, they were very frustrated. With 10 sword-shaped plants, Yi Chen did not plan to occupy the 2 miles area anymore. He finally left. Luckily, I was able to hold on. Although the sword-shaped plants were an extra reward, if I could get one, then this trip would be worth it. Seeing Yi Chen leave, Everyone was overjoyed. Of course, some of the weaker sword artists were worried. Before, with Yi Chun there, those aggressive sword artists did not dare to push it too far. But once Yi Chun left, those people would not be able to control their greed and try to take the plants. In the end, this world had always been a survival of the fittest. The more powerful you were, the more people would respect you. 3 days after Yi Chun left, a group of unexpected guests showed up outside the crack. Have you seen this guy before? The leader took out a portrait from his storage ring. The portrait was none other than Yi Chun. Yes, he just left 3 days ago. The sword artist who was asked answered honestly. There were a lot of people on the other side, and the ones walking the front were all astral reaching realm warriors. More importantly, they were wearing the uniform of the rank 6 martial school, the floating mountain martial school, which was not someone they could mess with. They could not help but wonder where Yi Chun came from, since he dared to go against the floating mountain martial school. The leader heard him and said with a cold voice, he escaped again. They were all under Taoist Jin Huang, who was the core master of the floating mountain martial school. With one order, he could send out a lot of people. They were only one of the groups that were chasing after Yi Chun. This time, there were more than 10 groups, and each group had 2 to 3 astral-reaching realm warriors. The biggest group even had a late astral-reaching realm warrior, who was the assistant of Taoist Jin Huang. Taoist Jin Huang's order was to send someone to inform him as soon as they got the news. Master Lu, don't worry. After messing with Master Jin Huang, this brat will die sooner or later. The middle-aged man who was called Master Lu put away the portrait. Of course. What kind of cultivation does Master Jin Huang have? Even if we give him 5 years, he would not be able to compete with Master Jin Huang. If he does not die now, he will die even more miserably in the future. Let's go. In the mountains, thousands of miles away from the natural moat gorge, under the waterfall, Yi Chun sat on a huge rock, staring at the 6 sword marks on the wall. Among the 6 sword marks, 2 of them contained an unparalleled sword intent. The sword intent lingered for a long time, filling up the entire surreal space, making the air around it as sticky as water. Yi Chun had been sitting there for 10 days. During these 10 days, he had used up 6 sword-shaped plants in total. The sword intent of one plant could stay in the surreal space for 3 days. However, Yi Chun was not satisfied yet. Before the sword intent had completely disappeared, another sword mark would appear, which kept the sword intent at its most intense level. Woo! At noon, the waterfall stopped for a second. The water splashed in midair and did not fall down for a long time. The breeze around had disappeared as well, and it was dead silent. Boom! Invisibly, a wave of sword intent shot up into the sky, shooting up into the clouds. 90% sword intent done. Shaking off the dust on his body, Yi Chun stood up and opened his eyes. The surreal space was shaking, like a great sword that had been covered in dust for hundreds of years had just been pulled out of its scabbard, shocking the world. The sword intent slowly disappeared as Yi Chun let out a breath full of sharp qi. He mumbled to himself, "Comprehending the sword intent by myself was just a pure sword intent. However, from the Battle King's sword intent, I could sense the immortal mentality. Compared to the 80% sword intent, the immortal mentality contained in the 90% sword intent had increased by 5 times. The others would never have thought that I could gain something like this. There was only one Battle King sword, and only that sword could trigger the immortal mentality in the Battle King's sword intent. It was Yi Chun's fortune, and no one else knew about it. Yi Chun was confident that with the 90% sword intent, he would be able to compete with other people's completed sword intent. The immortal mentality was way too powerful and did not belong to this realm at all. It was like a life and death realm warrior, standing high above the rest and looking down on the world. With the increase of the sword intent, my cultivation is unbelievably stable. It should be because of my clear mind, without any dirt on me. Unfortunately, I do not have any pellets or spirit plants that could increase the cultivation of astral-reaching realm warriors. Otherwise, I would be able to reach the peak level of early astral-reaching realm right now." The sword intent on the sword mark had not disappeared yet, So Yi Chun took out another sword-shaped plant. It had been broken, and the sword intent contained in it was poured into the broken Battle King's sword. Yi Chun lifted up the sword and slashed out a new sword mark. Let's go all out and see what level I can reach with 90% sword intent. 99% was the completed sword intent. Even reaching 91% would be a huge improvement. Chapter 327. 6 sword-shaped plants had increased Yi Chun's sword intent to 90%, but it was just the beginning. As the 7th plant was used up, Yi Chun could feel that the sword intent that he had learned earlier was being verified with the 7th plant's sword intent. It felt like he had accumulated a lot of experience. It seems like the accumulation of sword intent was right after all. Without those 20 days of training, it would still be unknown if my sword intent could reach 90%, not to mention breaking through to a higher realm. The sword intent inside the plant was actually not perfect, and the sword intent leaking out from the crack was not perfect either. But the two combined together and complemented each other, making it a lot more complete. Time flew by like water. Yi Chun had used up all of his stored sword-shaped plants, and the reward was shocking. According to his own estimation, his sword intent was at least 93% and was not far from 99%. As his sword intent continued to increase, Yi Chun finally had some understanding of the immortal mentality. First of all, the immortal mentality was something beyond the mentality and was above it. Secondly, the immortal mentality was very special and had nothing to do with most of the mentalities. After all, even if it was beyond the mentality, it would still have something to do with it. At least, it would be based on the mentality, and it would be impossible to create something out of nothing. However, the immortal mentality seemed to be created out of nothing, from nothing, from nothing, from nothing, and from nothing. Yi Chun did not know if he had guessed it right or not, but he thought that the immortal mentality meant the highest level and was above everything else. Forget it. With my cultivation, thinking about it would drive me crazy. I would need to at least reach the Sea of Souls realm before I could even think about it. For things that he had no clue about, he would never try to understand it forcefully. That would only drive him crazy, and it would not be worth it. Above the pond, Yi Chun lifted up his fist and threw out a punch. Shoo! A vacuum tunnel was torn open in the air, and it was quickly filled up with new air, making an extremely shrill scream. Pooh! The waterfall was cut in half like a piece of cloth, one top and one bottom. My comprehensive ability has allowed me to increase my martial art realm at an extremely fast speed, and the higher the martial art realm, the faster my cultivation base will increase as well. However, the higher the sword intent realm, it can also increase my cultivation speed. It has only been a month since I came out, and my cultivation base has already been completely stabilized. I am about to reach the peak of early astral reaching realm. It was undeniable that Yi Chun's rapid growth in cultivation had a lot to do with the growth of his sword intent. In fact, in terms of cultivation talent, Yi Chun was just at the level of top geniuses. However, the sword intent had made his mind more clear, clearing away all distracting thoughts, allowing him to bring out his cultivation talent to 100% or even 120%. However, some of the extremely talented people might not even be able to bring out 90 or 80% of their cultivation talent. The sword-shaped plant had been used up, but Yi Chun's learning had not disappeared yet. He planned to stay here for a few more days until he could no longer learn anymore. Wild Goose Falling River, Natural Moat Gorge. The number of swordsmen outside the fissure continued to increase. Unknowingly, the number of swordsmen had exceeded 100. Every day, many people would leave, and many more would come. And among the swordsmen who had come this time, 2 of them were extremely eye-catching. One of them was the astral-reaching realm sword artist Song Yin, who had met Yi Chun once before. The other one was an elder in black robes. His face was dry, and he did not have a beard. His eyes were as calm as an ancient well. Judging their cultivation, they were only at mid and late astral reaching realm, which was not that horrifying. However, their sword intent had reached 90%, which allowed them to fight against the Battle King sword intent that was 1 mile away from the fissure. Indeed, they were right outside the fissure. In the past couple of months, it was the first time that sword artists had appeared in this place, and there were 2 of them at the same time. 90% sword intent. So horrifying. I heard that once you reached the completion of the sword intent, battling beyond realms would be as easy as eating and drinking. But to reach the completion of the sword intent would be extremely hard. I have been stuck at 60% sword intent for a couple of years now, and there is still no sign of a breakthrough. All of the swordsmen nearby could not help but discuss. 1 mile away, the elder in black robes mumbled to himself, "No matter how powerful the sword intent is, it will be destroyed one day. It seems like this Battle King's sword intent is going to disappear soon." Song Yin chuckled. "It is already impressive for it to exist for 500 years. Sword Elder, do you know what level the Battle King's sword intent has reached? Unpredictable. Unpredictable. It is almost at the level of the natural law. Almost at the natural law. So horrifying." Song Yin gasped. The natural law was something that only life and death realm warriors could learn. According to the legends, once one learned the natural law, he or she would be able to reach another realm, one that was beyond the life and death realm. Unfortunately, no one had ever learned the natural law. If the Battle King's level was close to the natural law, then why had he not become an emperor yet? I do not know why, but the fact that the Battle King's sword intent could exist for 500 years means that it is already close to the natural law. Perhaps our cultivation is still too low, and there is still a huge gap between us and the Battle King. Once we fill this gap, we will be able to touch the Battle King realm. Song Yin nodded. Indeed, they were the top of the astral-reaching realm warriors, but compared to the Battle King, they were just like ants. Talking about high-level stuff with the status of ants was already extremely ridiculous. Letting out a breath, Song Yin raised his head and looked at the crack. This crack had only appeared last year. The natural moat gorge and the Battle King's sword intent would indeed not last for too long. 3 to 5 years at the slowest, and 1.5 years at the fastest, the Battle King's sword intent would disappear for sure. We should take this opportunity to learn more about the sword intent and collect some sword-shaped plants. Yeah, that makes sense. The 2 calmed down and sank into the state of learning. Crack, crack, boom. Just when the 2 of them were trying to comprehend the sword will, a huge crack suddenly appeared on the natural moat gorge. The crack meandered and climbed all the way to the top of the gorge, reaching a height of 17,000 to 18,000 meters. The center of the crack was pitch black, like the mouth of a demon. The strong vibration woke everyone up. Another crack has appeared. The sword elder frowned. Song Yin sighed inwardly. Because of the existence of the Battle King's sword intent, the natural moat gorge had already become the holy land for sword artists. But this holy land would also disappear in the near future. He did not know whether he should be sad or sad. Look, a huge amount of sword-shaped plants are flying out. So many. We have made it. Once the second crack was created, the violent vibration brought up the airflow, creating a strong whirlwind. Within the whirlwind, there were dozens of sword-shaped plants. They were all like sharp swords, shooting out with a shocking sword intent. They were as fast as lightning. The sword elder laughed. Song Yin, our luck is not bad. It has only been 1 day, and we have already found a huge amount of sword-shaped plants. I only need 10. Song Yin's body flashed as he reached out his arms, trying to grab the plants nearby. This time, I'm trying to reach the completion of my sword intent. 15 will be fine. The sword elder did not want to pass on the responsibility, so he started to fight for the other plants. Shoo! Not far away, a blue figure flew over at an extreme speed. Luckily, I made it in time. Another crack had appeared in the gorge. The blue figure was indeed Yi Chun. Right then, he saw the plants shooting out of the crack, so he would not waste any time. His speed increased to its limit, and within 2 flashes, he had already reached 1 mile away. What? Another sword artist with 90% sword intent? It is him. Half a month ago, people from the Floating Mountain Martial School had come to find him. Many of the sword artists had recognized Yi Chun. As for Song Yin and the sword elder, they were also shocked. After seeing the face of the person who had just arrived, Song Yin was even more shocked. Brother Yi, I did not expect you to reach 90% sword intent from 70% sword intent in just 2 years. Congratulations. Hearing him, the Sword Elder's eyebrows flicked. This person is indeed the #1 martial genius of the South Ritter region, Yi Chun. No wonder he has such a horrifying sword intent. No, this sword intent is not a normal 90% sword intent. The Sword Elder was extremely shocked. Even his speed of getting the plants had slowed down a bit, because he had sensed something similar to the Battle King's sword intent from Yi Chen's sword intent. With the 3 plants in his hands, Yi Chen continued to fight. He said, "Senior Song Yin, long time no see. What is going on with this crack?" Back then, the Sky Pillar Mountain had been sliced open by the Battle King's sword attack. A lot of places had been shaken up, but because the sword intent had always been in a rich state, it had the effect of toughening the rocks. Now that the Battle King's sword intent has been weakening, the gorge is about to collapse as well. This crack is a sign of it collapsing. I see. Yi Chen had always been confused. Since he could get the plants here, why did Song Yin still want to fight for them in the auction? It seemed like when the auction was held in the Gold Tripod City, the crack had not appeared yet, so the sword intent had to be trained on the river on both sides of the gorge. On top of the gorge, all of the top warriors from all of the martial institutions were shocked. Not good. Another crack has appeared. The day of the gorge collapsing is not far away. A lot of people are fighting for the plants down there, which belong to all of us. If I have guessed it right, there will be more cracks appearing in the coming days. By then, there will be even more plants flying out. If we do not do something soon, it will be a huge loss. Tell the others to lock down the gorge and get rid of these sword artists. I've been annoyed by these sword artists for a long time. Shoo, 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 shoo. Soon, dozens of astral-reaching realm warriors flew down from the top of the gorge. Some of them yelled, "This place has been locked down. Everyone leave. If you do not leave, we will kill you." The dozens of astral-reaching realm warriors were still at the front. Soon, more astral-reaching realm warriors arrived. There are no less than 500 of them, since there were more powerful martial institutions stationed at the top of the gorge than the sword artists on the scene. As they were talking, all of the powerful martial institutions started to chase the people away. Their powerful Zhen Yuan vibration gathered together, looking like a tsunami that could shatter the sky and crack the ground. So aggressive. How dare they chase us away? The natural moat gorge was created by the Battle King. If we're talking about the owner, it would be the Battle King and his descendants. They have been ruling the gorge for a long time, and now they want to chase us away. All of the sword artists on the scene were very angry. Chapter 328. Boom, boom, boom. Huge holes that were dozens of meters deep appeared on the ground. That horrifying Zhen Yuan flow had brought up the natural Yuan Qi, bringing up a horrifying Qi wave, forcing all of the sword artists to leave the place. So aggressive. The Sword Elder had almost been hit by a Zhen Yuan flow, his face turning black. Song Yan's luck was not so good, as his clothes had been torn apart by the Qi wave, revealing the low-rank inner armor underneath. The 13th plant. Activating his Zhen Yuan, Yi Chen's body flashed as he grabbed onto the 13th plant, preparing to leave. How dare you try to steal the plant right under our noses? Make him spit out all of the plants. 7 to 8 astral-reaching realm warriors had noticed Yi Chen, so they all rushed over, each throwing out a horrifying Zhen Yuan flow. Yi Chen frowned as he took out his Star Scar sword, using his green lotus flower seizing seal to block out the incoming attack. How dare you? How dare you fight back? Hand over all of the plants, and we will let you live. These people saw that Yi Chen had blocked out their attacks so easily, so they were quite shocked. Although there were only 2 mid-astral-reaching realm warriors among them, their combined power was so powerful that even late astral-reaching realm warriors would not dare to take it head-on. However, Yi Chen had managed to take it all with one attack. With the advantage in numbers, the 2 leading warriors had a dark look on their faces as they pointed at Yi Chen and yelled. Backing out to the safe area, Yi Chen stood on the ground and said with a cold voice, I have no problem with you locking down the natural moat gorge, but I will not hand over the plants. Even if you don't want to, you will have to. Don't force us to kill you. Ichin squeezed his eyes slightly. To be honest, as long as Sea of Souls Realm warriors did not show up, he would not be afraid of anyone. Right now, his sword intent had already reached 93%, and because it contained the immortal mentality, it was almost equivalent to the completed sword intent. He was confident that he could beat Jin Huang even if he ran into him. Although there were a lot of powerful martial artists stationed in the canyon, as long as they did not surround him, they would not be able to do anything to him. Therefore, asking him a hand over the plants would be a pipe dream, not to mention the fact that they would be useful to him. Even if they were not, he would not hand them over. Just as Ichan was about to attack, the ghost head took a step out. You guys don't push it too far. The sword head, have been in the South River region for so many years, and even the leaders of rank 7 martial institutions would have to be polite to me. Who do you think you are? How dare you yell at me like this? Who attacked me before? Are you blind? What? It's Sword Elder, one of the top 10 sword artists in the astral reaching realm. The Sword Elder, and the one right next to him, seems to be Song Yin, right? Although Song Yin is not in the top 10 sword artists, but he is still one of the top 10 sword artists. The few of them were a bit scared. The Sword Elder was a loner, without any family or friends. His own power was horrifying, and he was ranked at the top of the top 10 sword artists. Below the Sea of Souls realm, there were barely any powerful warriors who could compete with him. Therefore, most of the time, rank 7 martial institutions would not dare to mess with the Sword Elder, since there would not be any Sea of Souls realm warriors in the martial institutions. If they messed with the Sword Elder, he could easily kill a couple of people and then run away, then come back in a few days to kill more people. Without a certain amount of astral reaching realm warriors, it would be impossible to kill him. If it were only these, then it would not be a big deal. A few years ago, there was a powerful sword artist who was called the Blood Sword Artist. Just like the Sword Elder, he was one of the top 10 sword artists in the astral reaching realm. At that time, a master of a rank 7 martial institution had bullied others and was killed by the Blood Sword Artist. The leader of the rank 7 martial institution was furious and sent out a lot of astral reaching realm warriors to chase after the Blood Sword Artist. However, the Blood Sword Artist's battling power was extremely powerful. He fought while running and eventually killed a lot of his pursuers. The leader of the rank 7 martial institution regretted it. The number of astral reaching realm warriors in a rank 7 martial institution was limited, and a lot of them had been killed by the Blood Sword Artist. Their overall power had dropped drastically, and it would not be worth it. However, it would be impossible for him to let go of his pride, so he could only send out a notice asking the Blood Sword Artist to come and apologize. However, who was the Blood Sword Artist? He was a famous brutal warrior in the whole South River region. His killing intent was extremely heavy. As long as he did not cause any trouble, it would be fine. But if he did, he would exhaust you to death. In the past 2 years, the rank 7 martial institutions that had messed with the Blood Sword Artist had been forced to hide in their martial institutions, not daring to go out. Their disciples had left the martial institutions one after another, and a lot of the masters could not stand it either. Some of them had left the martial institutions, while others had joined other martial institutions. Not long after, this rank 7 martial institution had fallen completely and was forced to become a rank 8 martial institution. One had to admit that the Blood Sword Artist was too brutal. He had messed up the martial institutions, but he still did not want to let it go. Finally, one day, he sneaked in and killed the leader of the martial institution. Then, he started a massacre, killing all of the astral reaching realm warriors in the martial institutions, completing the miracle of one man destroying a martial institution. It was the first time in hundreds of years that something like this had happened. With the example of the Blood Sword Artist, all of the rank 7 martial institutions had come to the same conclusion. Never mess with an astral reaching realm warrior with super powerful battling power, unless you had the confidence to kill him with one attack. Otherwise, if he did not die, then the future would be hard to live. The martial institutions that they were in might become the second sacrifice in hundreds of years. It is the Sword Elder. We were blind and could not recognize you. Please forgive us. The attitude of the group of people had changed drastically as they cupped their fists and apologized. Right next to the Sword Elder, Song Yin snorted. My brother, ye had already left that area, yet you still dared to chase after him. I'm not afraid to tell you that his battling power is not weaker than mine. Even if he killed you, your martial institutions might not be able to do anything about it. Song Yin did not know what level Yi Qin's battling power was at, but he had a feeling that Yi Qin's battling power might not be weaker than his, and might even be above it. It could be seen from the Sword Elder's shocked expression. Plus, Yi Qin was the #1 martial genius in the whole South River region. As a top martial genius, how could he only have sword intent as his ace? His sword movements and poetic perspectives were equally horrifying. Not weaker than Song Yin. The few of them looked at each other. Who was Song Yin? Even if he was not one of the top 10 astral-reaching realm sword artists, he should at least be in the top 20. He was listed as a second-class warrior by the rank 7 martial institutions, and Yi Qin's power was not weaker than him. Did it not mean that he was also a second-class warrior by the rank 7 martial institutions? Sorry, the leader of the group took a deep breath, feeling extremely regretful. Judging from Yi Qin's tough tone, Song Yan's words might not be fake. Compared to his life, what was an apology? He was afraid that he would be too shy and refuse to admit his mistake, which would make him a powerful enemy. Putting away his sword intent, Yi Qin looked very calm. He did not accept the apology, but he did not reject it either. The Sword Elder opened his mouth. All right, you guys go and remind the others not to push it too far. The sword-shaped plant belongs to the individual. Yes, then we will leave now. The few of them were still afraid of the Sword Elder. It was easy to tell that the Sword Elder and Song Yin were good friends. Song Yin had called Yi Qin Brother Yi, which meant that they were quite close. Waiting until the few of them left, the Sword Elder turned around and smiled at Yi Qin. This is how the South River region is. Only the powerful ones are respected. Don't think that they have martial institutions behind them. As long as it is not a rank 6 martial institution, they would not dare to yell at me. Blood Sword is an example right there. Yi Qin held his fists towards Song Yin and the Sword Elder. Thank you for your help, seniors. Without their help, Yi Qin would have been fine as well. But those were two different things, and it had nothing to do with his battling power. He would still have to thank them, since he was not someone who did not know what was good for him. At the same time, he had also learned about the power of the top 10 sword artists in the astral reaching realm. Even the powerful warriors from rank 7 martial institutions would not dare to mess with them. If he wanted to reach that level, he would have to show enough battling power. Otherwise, he would not be able to win the approval of the whole world. Just like the Sword Elder had said, in the South River region, only the powerful ones were respected. Who had the bigger fist would be the most powerful one. Everything would be decided by power. The Sword Elder shook his head with a smile. Your potential is way more powerful than mine. I am just the icing on the cake. It seems like Song Yin thinks very highly of you. Song Yin introduced to Yi Qin. Yi Qin, this is one of the famous top 10 sword artists in the astral reaching realm, the Sword Elder. He is the teacher who guided me on the path of a sword artist. The three of them were all sword artists, so they had a lot of topics to talk about. With the Sword Elder's warning, all of the powerful martial institutions that were stationed in the natural moat gorge started to behave themselves. No one tried to kick them out again. Although those sword artists were not happy about it, they knew that there were too many of them, and they had the support of their martial institutions, which was not something they could compete with. So, they left the gorge one by one. In the afternoon, Yi Qin and the Sword Elder said goodbye to Song Yin. Seniors, I still have to go to the martial city. I will say goodbye for now. The Sword Elder nodded. Young man, it is better to be busy. When you have time, we can catch up. Your understanding of the sword art is very unique, and it has helped me a lot. The Sword Elder's experience has also helped Yi Qin a lot. If there is a chance, I will definitely come and visit. Hee, I will wait for you. After separating from the two, Yi Qin did not stop and headed towards the martial city. This time, Yi Qin was going to the martial city for no other reason than to find some great medicines to increase his cultivation. Right now, his cultivation had already been stabilized, and he could definitely reach the peak level of early astral reaching realm. Once he reached that level, his battling power would definitely increase by a small level, which would be very useful to him. He knew very well that his battling power was not as powerful as the Sword Elder yet, and not as powerful as the top 10 sword artists in the astral reaching realm. To be able to be in the top 10, one's cultivation would have to be at least at the late astral reaching realm, and the martial arts and sword arts that they trained would have to be at least high-rank earth realm. Their sword intent would also have to be at least 90%. All in all, their battling power would be amazing. Even if Yi Chun had a lot of advantages, he would still not be able to compete with them. Of course, the only thing that Yi Chun lacked was his cultivation, which was relatively easy to increase, since it was where his potential lied. Secondly, he had gotten 13 sword-shaped plants this time, which would be perfect for him to train his sword intent in the training room in the martial city, which would be more peaceful than anywhere else. Although I am not alone, and I am not as free as the Sword Elder and the Blood Sword Artist, who are able to fight against rank 7 martial institutions without any worries, but with that powerful man and the South River Martial School, the Sky Cloud Martial School, and the Yi family are pretty safe. Once my power reaches the level of the top 10 astral reaching realm sword artists, there would be very few things in the South River region that could threaten me. Yi Chun kept thinking and thinking about other things at the same time. A couple of days later, Yi Chun arrived at the martial city. Without stopping, he walked straight to the trading palace in the inner city. Chapter 329. The trading palace had always been very popular, and it would always be packed with people. In the entire South River region, only the martial city's trading palace had the most treasures and spirit plants. Although the other big countries also had similar cities for warriors, they were still not as good as the martial city. Mid-rank great weapon, light spear, obtained from the Blood Demon battlefield in the Star Region Lake. The starting price is 30,000 mid-rank soul stones. The highest bidder wins. Once he entered the trading palace, Yi Chun saw someone selling a mid-rank great weapon. It was a long spear with a colorful light. The tip of the spear was shining with a cold light, giving people a feeling that it was indestructible. It was definitely one of the top mid-rank great weapons. What? A mid-rank great weapon? Let's go check it out. How could the things from a Blood Demon battlefield be bad? That place is full of danger and opportunities. There are unimaginable treasures there. The seller yelled out casually. Immediately, 4 to 5 astral-reaching realm warriors surrounded him. Blood Demon battlefield. Yi Chun had heard about the Blood Demon battlefield before. It was said that it was just like the Heavenly Dream ancient region, which had existed since the ancient era. There were a lot of blood demons inside, which were divided into low-rank blood demons, low-rank blood demons, middle-rank blood demons, top-rank blood demons, and the extremely horrifying blood demon generals and blood demon kings. Blood Demon battlefield was more like a small space than a battlefield. Of course, this small space was way bigger than the Heavenly Dream ancient region, and it was divided into 2 layers. The first layer was for low-rank blood demons and middle-rank blood demons, while the second layer was for mid-rank blood demons and top-rank blood demons. Although it is a bit troublesome, after I reach the astral reaching realm, I will still need to change my Star Scar sword. Blood Demon battlefield will be my second destination. After making up his mind, Yi Chun decided to go to the Blood Demon battlefield to find a mid-rank great sword. A mid-rank greatsword would be able to increase the attacking power by 30 to 40%, which was a must-have for all astral-reaching realm sword artists. The trading palace was huge. It was miles in radius, almost as big as a small town. It's an alchemist. Arriving at the center of the trading hall, Yi Chun's gaze landed on a white-bearded old man. The old man was dressed in a long robe that had an alchemy cauldron embroidered on it. With a single glance, one could tell that it was the unique clothing of an alchemist. In front of him, there was a crystal counter with all sorts of pills on it. There were pills to recover Zhen Yuan, pills to mend meridians, pills to speed up the recovery of Zhen Yuan, and there was even a thumb-sized, unknown pill that shone with starlight. There were quite a lot of astral-reaching realm warriors in front of the crystal counter. They were all very respectful, not daring to make any noise. From this, one could tell that this alchemist in his 60s was not a simple person. Pill Elder, give me a bottle of miraculous spirit pills for repairing meridians. Pill Elder, I still owe you 1,000 mid-grade spirit stones from last time. I'll pay you back in one lump sum. As they spoke, Yichen walked over. Is this the Earth Star pill? Yichen pointed at the thumb-sized pill on the crystal counter and asked. The old man nodded, indeed. The Earth Star pill can increase the cultivation of astral-reaching realm warriors, but it cannot help them make a breakthrough. Little friend, do you want to buy it? Yichen looked at the price. 1,000 mid-grade spirit stones for one was indeed expensive, but he did not care. In this world where power was everything, everything had to be for the sake of improving one's power. Give me 5 of them, and 2 bottles of each of the other 3 types of pills. The Pill Elder was a bit surprised. Seeing that Yichen was so young, he seemed to be quite rich. With all these pills added together, it would be more than 10,000 mid-grade spirit stones. Of course, the more pills Yichen bought, the happier he would be. He smiled and said, 5 Earth-Star pills would be 5,000 mid-grade spirit stones. 2 bottles of 7-star pills for recovering Jin Yuan would be 1,200 mid-grade spirit stones. 2 bottles of miraculous spirit pills for accelerating Jin Yuan recovery would be 1,500 mid-grade spirit stones. And 2 bottles of miraculous spirit pills for repairing meridians would be 3,000 mid-grade spirit stones. In total, it would be 10,700 mid-grade spirit stones. Little friend, since this is your first time here, I won't take the 700 mid-grade spirit stones. Just 10,000 mid-grade spirit stones would be enough. All right, here you go. Yichen took out a box filled with mid-grade spirit stones from his storage ring and placed it on the floor in front of the Pill Elder. After the transaction, Yichen walked around for a bit. Seeing that there was nothing else that caught his eye, he left the trading palace and came to the training room lobby inside the city. In front of the platform was still the beautiful lady. It was her first time seeing such a young, astral-reaching realm warrior. She felt that he looked familiar, but she was not sure. She said with respect, "Excuse me, would you like a high-rank training room or a top-rank training room?" The training rooms were divided into 4 ranks: low rank, mid-rank, high rank, and top rank. Among them, only astral-reaching realm warriors had the right to use the high rank and top rank. Below the astral-reaching realm, no matter how many spirit stones one had, one would not be able to go in and train. This was the rule of the martial city. Yichen said, "How much for a top-rank training room?" The top-rank training room would cost 30,000 low-rank spirit stones a day. If you pay with mid-rank spirit stones, it would be 500. The lady answered honestly, "Pay the low-rank spirit stones. These are the spirit stones for 3 days." Yichen thought about it and decided to pay the low-rank spirit stones. Although paying with mid-rank spirit stones seemed a bit cheaper, since 500 mid-rank spirit stones were equivalent to 25,000 low-rank spirit stones, for him, there were not many opportunities for him to use low-rank spirit stones. Mid-rank spirit stones were very useful. Sometimes, 50 low-rank spirit stones might not even be enough for 1 mid-rank spirit stone. Of course, for most of the astral-reaching realm warriors, Yichen's mid-rank spirit stones were shocking. After killing 5 astral-reaching realm warriors, he had gotten 100,000 mid-rank spirit stones. Adding his own, he had 160,000 mid-rank spirit stones in total. He had just spent 10,000 on the pellets, so he still had 150,000 left. In comparison, Yichen had even more low-rank spirit stones, which were piled up like a mountain. He had gotten more than 1 million low-rank spirit stones from the 5 astral-reaching realm warriors. Adding his own, it had reached 3,500,000. It was a frightening amount of wealth, even richer than a rank 9 martial school, and comparable to some of the weaker rank 8 martial schools. Taking the Jade tag, Yichen was led to the training room area in the back by the attendant. 30,000 low-rank spirit stones a day. That would be 300,000 low-rank spirit stones in 10 days. This training room is quite profitable. While thinking, Yichen arrived outside a courtyard. This is the 3rd top-ranked training room. "Sir, please come in." The attendant opened the door for Yichen and bowed respectfully. Yi Chen nodded and took out 30 low-rank spirit stones, throwing them to the attendant. "This is your tip." "Thank you." The attendant was very excited. The top-rank training room was a bit wider than the mid-rank training room. Once he entered, Yi Chen could feel the temperature around him rising. However, staying inside did not make him feel hot at all. On the contrary, his body felt very warm, and his slowly circulating Zhen Yuan started to boil. As his soul power spread out, Yi Chen could see the value of the top-ranked training room. The qi rising from the ground was not light red, but dark red, which was way more than the mid-ranked training room. The materials on the walls were not simple either. Once the dark red qi touched it, it bounced back immediately, moving closer to the center of the training room, forming an extremely dense spherical area. The fire qi of the earth evil Jin qi is more than 10 times denser than the mid-ranked training room. It is indeed a top-ranked training room. I wonder what would be like to train near the earth evil Jin fire. Slowly letting out a breath, Yi Chen sat on the cushion in the middle of the training room with his eyes slightly closed, entering the training mode. After a while, he opened his eyes. "It seems like I only need one earth astral pellet." I was already not far from the peak level early astral reaching realm. Combined with this top-ranked training room, it will be much easier. Taking out the thumb-sized earth astral pellet, Yi Chen stuffed it into his mouth. 3 days later, Yi Chen had reached the peak level early astral reaching realm as he wished. His Zhen Yuan was 50% denser than 3 days ago, but the purity did not increase much, since the purity would increase along with the realm. Going from the early astral reaching realm to the peak level did not count as a realm increase. The earth astral pellet is indeed mysterious. Besides not being able to help me make a breakthrough, it has a huge effect on increasing my cultivation, saving me a lot of time. Continuing to train was already useless, since reaching the mid-astral reaching realm was not something that could be done in a short period of time. Next, Yi Chen's target was the sword intent. The training field of the top-ranked training room was extremely vast. From east to west, it was 300 to 400 meters long, which was much bigger than a big family's yard. Absorbing the sword intent from the sword-shaped plant, Yi Chen held the Broken Battle Emperor's sword and threw out a sword attack onto the training column in front of him. Swoosh! The material of the training column was close to a low-rank great weapon, and it only left a 3-inch deep sword mark. The Immortal sword intent spread out with the sword mark as the center. The good thing was that it was not too wide, and it did not go beyond the training field. Otherwise, it would cause some trouble. Being covered by the sword intent, Yi Chen calmed himself down and started to train. Soon, half a month had passed. Yi Chen opened his eyes. Just as I expected, the closer I am to the completion, the harder it is to train. During this half a month, I have used up 8 sword-shaped plants in total, but it only increased my sword intent from 93% to 95%. I wonder how many sword-shaped plants I will need to fill up the remaining gap. Without much hesitation, Yi Chen continued to take out the sword-shaped plants. 7 days passed. There are only 2 sword-shaped plants left. There is no chance for me to reach the completion. Forcing a smile, Yi Chen shook his head. Although he had prepared for it, the difficulty of training the sword intent was still beyond his expectation. No wonder the Sword Elder, who was one of the top 10 sword artists in the South River region, was still stuck at 90% sword intent. He wondered who among the other 9 sword artists had reached the completion and who had learned the completed sword intent. Only by reaching the completed sword intent would one be able to reach the higher realms. The last 2 sword-shaped plants had finally been used up. Right now, Yi Chen's sword intent had stopped at 97%, which was only a tiny bit away from the completion. And this tiny bit would take a lot of years to reach. But of course, Yi Chen's sword intent contained the immortal mentality, which could compete with the completed sword intent, which was his advantage. It is time to leave. Next stop, the Blood Demon battlefield in the Star Region Lake. After resting for a day, Yi Chen had stayed in the top-ranked training room for a whole month. He had paid 900,000 low-rank soul stones, but the good thing was that it was worth it. Right now, he only needed an opportunity to reach the mid-astral reaching realm. Chapter 330. How many days has it been since he left? Whistling Wind Restaurant was one of the top restaurants in Marshall City. In a private room on the third floor, 7 or 8 astral-reaching experts were sitting. The one leading them was Floating Mountain Sect's core elder, Taoist Jin Huang. He wore a long gray robe with golden threads embroidered on the edges. At this moment, he glanced around and asked the astral-reaching expert in front of him. 3 days. This person was one of the astral-reaching experts following Yi Chun. Half a month ago, he found out that Yi Chun had arrived in Marshall City and immediately sent a message to Taoist Jin Huang. Taoist Jin Huang's gaze turned cold. He didn't expect that Yi Chun would be so eager to die, choosing to leave Windy Nation right after entering astral-reaching realm. However, it was exactly what he wanted. If Yi Chun had stayed in Windy Nation, he wouldn't have been able to do anything. The owner of the sky-covering hand was not someone he could contend with. Even if he had the guts, he wouldn't dare to provoke the other party. The soul-chasing bird should have followed him. Yes, as long as the soul-chasing bird is here, even if that kid runs to the ends of the earth, he won't be able to escape from 6th Elder's pursuit. Taoist Jin Huang was ranked 6th among the core elders of Floating Mountain Sect. Therefore, everyone called him Elder Jin Huang or 6th Elder. Good, very good. This time, he won't be able to escape death. Taoist Jin Huang laughed loudly. The soul-chasing bird was a strange bird raised by Floating Mountain Sect. Although it was only the size of a palm, it had a speed of 1,000 meters per second. As long as it smelled one's aura, it would be able to sense one's existence within 100 li. With the soul-chasing bird following Yi Chun, the matter was already half done. The remaining half would be left to him. Thinking of this, Taoist Jin Huang felt extremely happy. Yi Chun was like a knot in his heart, a heart devil. If he didn't eliminate him, he would never be able to calm down and cultivate in seclusion. He was very clear that with Yi Chun's talent, given 3 to 5 years, he might truly become a threat to him. Therefore, he had to eliminate him as soon as possible. Fortunately, he wasn't far from his goal. Star Regional Lake. It was one of the top few super lakes in the true Spirit Continent. Its surface area was even bigger than the Black Dragon Empire, the Ice Crystal Empire, and the Gray Mystery Nation combined. It extended all the way to the center of the Misty Snow region, bordering the Wavy Cloud region and the Thunder region. The Star Regional Lake had been an extremely mysterious place since the ancient times. There were a lot of forbidden places inside, some of which even life and death realm warriors would not dare to underestimate. The Blood Demon battlefield was still within the South Ritter region. It was a small forbidden area at the edge of the Star Regional Lake. For clasping Yuan and astral-reaching experts, the danger level was extremely high. Out of 3 people who entered, only one would be able to come out alive. Beneath the clouds, a streak of light streaked past. Taoist Jin Huang and I are irreconcilable. If he doesn't die, then I will. I don't want to go to the Wong family on the Snake Island. It will bring them a disaster. Let's go straight to the Blood Demon battlefield. Yi Chun originally wanted to go to the Snake Island and see what had happened to Wong's snake. But he immediately gave up on this idea. Before taking care of Taoist Jin Huang, it would be best not to meet anyone, unless that person's background and power were powerful enough. Amidst the boundless sky and water, Yi Chun increased his speed to 70%, flying toward the Bloodstone Islands that were hundreds of thousands of li away. Why do I feel like I'm being followed? Ever since leaving the Marshall City, Yi Chun had felt that something was wrong. As for what exactly was wrong, he didn't know. But as time passed, this kind of suspicion grew deeper and deeper, lingering in his heart. Until now, he was sure that something had indeed happened to him. I'd like to see who's following me. Yi Chun suddenly turned around. The green lotus Zhen Yuan inside his body burned fiercely, exploding his speed to the limit as he sprinted in the opposite direction. Within a moment, he had reached an astonishing distance of more than 1,000 meters, leaving a faint black trail in the void. After sprinting for dozens of li, Yi Chun released his soul power, spreading it out in a fan shape, covering the entire area in front of him. It's a bird. Within his soul power perception, A palm-sized bird that seemed to be made of black iron appeared in his mind. The bird seemed to be a bit surprised by his sudden turnaround and immediately flew in another direction like a black lightning bolt. Humph! Die! Yi-Chen finally knew the reason. This black bird actually had the ability to follow his aura. It had been following him for dozens of li, which was a distance that he couldn't sense with his soul power. Fortunately, he suddenly had an idea. He suddenly turned around and increased his speed, shortening the distance. The Star Scar sword was unsheathed, and a circular sword chi sliced through the void. The sword chi's speed was much faster than the blackbird's flying speed. In a few breaths' time, it had caught up to the bird. The powerful sword pressure turned the entire area into a vacuum world. Then, the sword chi flickered and heavily slashed out. Crack! The blackbird's defense was not bad, but unfortunately, Yi-Chen's attack was not something it could handle. Its feathers were shattered into pieces and were cut in half. Several hundred li away, an astral-reaching expert's complexion changed greatly. What? The soul-chasing bird has fallen? Who killed it? Could it be Yi-Chen? Impossible. He absolutely couldn't sense the soul-chasing bird's existence. Perhaps it was killed by a passing expert. Damn it. This kid's luck is too good. He was the breeder of the soul-chasing bird, so he had a subtle connection with it. Therefore, as soon as the bird was in danger, he immediately knew. This place is less than 10,000 li away from the Blood Demon battlefield. If I'm not wrong, this kid is definitely going there to try his luck. Although the Blood Demon battlefield is extremely dangerous, it's hard to say if he can come out alive. I'd better go back and inform Elder Jin Huang first. Clenching his teeth, this person turned around and rushed in the direction of Marshall City. After killing the black bird, the uneasiness lingering in his heart completely disappeared. Yi-Chen creased his brows. It's most likely Taoist Jin Huang's doing. All right, I can't wait for him to appear in front of me. At that time, I can thoroughly kill him and put an end to my heart demon. Yi-Chen was Taoist Jin Huang's heart demon, and Taoist Jin Huang was also Yi-Chen's heart demon. If the two wanted to continue advancing, they had to kill each other. One of them had to leave this world. The Blood Demon battlefield is also my battlefield. Letting out a heavy breath, Yi-Chen's gaze turned cold as he once again flew in the direction of the Blood Demon battlefield. Bloodstone Islands, formed by a total of 36 islands, the majority of which were faintly blood-colored rocks. Therefore, they were called Bloodstone Islands. Each of the islands had an ancient stone gate. Inside the gate was a blood-red whirlpool that was dozens of meters tall, emitting a soul-stirring aura. At this moment, numerous martial artists had gathered on each of the islands. Most of them were clasping Yuan realm martial artists, and astral-reaching realm experts only made up about 5%. At the same time, there were also many martial artists arriving from all directions, forming a dense black mass. His figure streaking across the horizon, Yi-Chen landed on the third island. He raised his head and saw many people entering the blood-red whirlpool, disappearing without a trace. Chapter 331. The number of martial artists on the third island reached several hundred. Some were waiting for people, some were forming teams, and some had just come out of Blood Demon battlefield. They were narrating what had happened inside. Did you know? Mountain Splitter died in the second layer of Blood Demon battlefield. What? It can't be. Mountain Splitter is a late astral-reaching expert. Although his Mountain Splitter palm is a high-rank Earth-grade palm art, the power of its mentality is extremely rare. Even peak-late astral-reaching experts don't dare to provoke him. How could he die in the second layer? How could this be fake? I saw a high-ranked blood demon pass through his body with my own eyes, taking away all of his blood chi. Then, the blood demon turned into a pile of human skin and fell to the ground. Fortunately, I reacted quickly and ran away. That was how I managed to get out of the second floor. 2 deaths and 1 life. This Blood Demon battlefield is worthy of being one of the minor forbidden zones. Even someone as powerful as Mountain Splitter died, just like that. Sigh. Treasures are not that easy to obtain. One has to risk their life for it. In South Ridra region, astral-reaching experts with mid-grade artifacts were few and far between. Everyone knew that mid-grade artifacts could be obtained in the Blood Demon battlefield, but those who were truly determined to enter were few and far between. After all, they only had one life. If they died, they would truly die. No matter how many treasures they had, what use would it be? Generally speaking, there were three kinds of people who dared to enter the Blood Demon battlefield. The first kind were those who possessed exceedingly high strength and didn't fear any environment. The second kind were those who were willing to take risks for the sake of increasing their strength. These kind of people were few and far between. The last kind were those who dared to enter for the sake of vengeance. Seriously speaking, Yi Chun belonged to both the first and the second type. In terms of strength, apart from his slightly lacking cultivation base, he was at the peak in every aspect. All in all, his battle strength could be considered extremely powerful. Moreover, it could rise crazily at any time. In terms of mental quality, sword artists who comprehended sword intent always had a higher mental quality than other martial artists. Yi Chun was very clear that taking risks was necessary. Without experiencing 9 deaths and 1 life, the chances of stepping into life and death realm were minuscule. Life and death, these 2 words had too many meanings. The same teleportation whirlpool. Clasping Yuan martial artists would be teleported to the first layer of Blood Demon battlefield, while astral reaching experts would be teleported to the second layer. This should be differentiated by aura. I wonder where I would be teleported to? Swish! Taking a step forward, Yi Chun plunged into the blood-red vortex. Several 100,000 kilometers away from the Blood Demon battlefield. Soul-chasing bird is dead. Hearing his subordinates report, Taoist Jin Huang's expression turned ugly. A murderous aura filled his face, making him look hideous and terrifying. Cold sweat dripped down the forehead of the astral-reaching expert who raised the soul-chasing bird. He promptly said, "Sixth Elder, rest assured. When the soul-chasing bird died, that kid was less than 10,000 li away from the Blood Demon battlefield. This subordinate is 80% certain that he went there in search of treasures. The Blood Demon battlefield. Look for the treasure. In the hands of an astral-reaching expert, a low-grade artifact will be damaged after being used for a long time. Especially in a confrontation with an expert, the chances of a low-grade artifact being damaged are even higher. In this case, he must get a mid-grade artifact. Otherwise, a sword artist would lose their weapon, and their battle power would be greatly reduced by at least 30%. However, with a mid-grade artifact, not only would he not have to worry about his weapon being damaged, his attack power would also increase by 30 to 40%. This is an irresistible temptation. You've done well. Taoist Jin Huang's mood turned for the better. Letting out a sigh, the astral-reaching expert who raised the soul-chasing bird cautiously said, "Sixth Elder, there's no time to lose. Let's enter the Blood Demon battlefield together and kill him." That's natural. However, just in case, you guys assign people to guard the Bloodstone Islands. Elder Rock and I will go in. Taoist Jin Huang was afraid that he wouldn't be able to find Yi Chun after entering the Blood Demon battlefield, so he let him slip out. As for Elder Rock, he was his assistant and had a similar cultivation base as him. With him by his side, killing Yi Chun would be as easy as flipping his hand. Yes, a blood-red whirlpool suddenly appeared, and a blue silhouette shot out from within. Its sharp aura was like an unsheathed sword, cutting through the void. Fortunately, there's no danger. Yi Chun had heard more than once that some people, upon entering the Blood Demon battlefield, would be directly teleported to an area denser with blood demons. As soon as they appeared, they would be devoured cleanly by the blood demons. It was a tragic sight to behold. Therefore, when teleporting, he was already prepared to ignite his green lotus Zhen Yuan in an instant. With his feet firmly planted on the ground, Yi Chun looked around. This is the second layer of the Blood Demon battlefield. Blood-colored clouds, dark light, black and red mountain ranges, light red water, grass, trees, and the like. The boundless second layer of the Blood Demon battlefield was like an extremely desolate world. It was shrouded in a stifling atmosphere and indescribable panic. Zhen Yuan is being suppressed a bit. Circulating his Zhen Yuan, Yi Chun discovered that his originally flowing Zhen Yuan was a bit sluggish. This kind of sluggishness couldn't be discovered without careful observation. Only Yi Chun, who had a powerful soul power, could instantly discover that something was wrong. Others didn't notice anything at first. Yi Chun's brows slightly creased. Don't look down on this little bit of suppression. It might not have any effect on you at your peak, but once you're exhausted, this little bit of suppression would be like the last straw on a camel's back. It was enough to crush you. Seems like this world is indeed suitable for blood demons to live in. It won't be easy for human martial artists to survive here. Tightening the star scar, sword on his waist, Yi Chun picked a direction and walked. He was currently in a mound. Walking out of the mound, he saw a black and red stone ridge. After walking a few steps, Yi Chun saw a dried-up human skin. An eerie aura lingered on it, as if a soul was crying. This is a good place. In this kind of eerie and frightening environment, my will would definitely be tempered. The stronger the will, the more powerful my sword intent would be. It would be inextinguishable. Turning a blind eye to his surroundings, Yi Chun straightened his back and walked forward step by step. Swish! A blood color suddenly seeped out from the rocks on the side. A blood light with distorted facial features darted out, sweeping towards Yi Chun, who was right in front of it. Break! This was only a mid-rank blood demon, which was equivalent to a clasping Yuan realm martial artist. Yi Chun didn't take out his sword. Instead, he clenched his right hand into a fist and punched out with the five-mountain condensing form. Pum! The air vibrated. The five-mountain godly fist momentum was extremely heavy. As the fist punched out, the air became sticky like water, restricting the speed of the mid-rank blood demon. It was immediately crushed into pieces by the fist power, exploding with a bang and filling the air with a blood mist. This blood demon is really strange. It doesn't have a concrete body, but can hide inside rocks and other objects. Its aura concealing ability is quite high. After killing a mid-rank blood demon, Yi Chun didn't stop. His soul power spread out like a net, sensing the aura ripples of treasures. The stone ridge was huge, much bigger than ordinary large mountain ranges. After an hour, Yi Chun finally sensed a trace of treasure aura ripples. However, there were also astral-reaching experts' Zhen Yuan ripples. The ripples were rather chaotic, probably due to an intense battle. Let's go take a look. Circulating green lotus Zhen Yuan, Yi Chun instantly turned into a beam of light. His speed rapidly soared, soon reaching 2 times the speed of sound. In 10 blinks of an eye, Yi Chun landed on a low mountain peak. Looking down, he saw 2 astral-reaching experts teaming up against a high-rank blood demon. Chi energies shot out in all directions, flattening the nearby rocks and earth. A man and a woman, a high-rank blood demon, and a mid-grade artifact beside it. Yi Chun thought of countless possibilities. One of them was that these 2 astral-reaching experts had sensed the aura ripples of treasures and arrived here, only to be targeted by a high-rank blood demon. The man was at the peak of mid-astral-reaching realm, while the woman was at mid-astral-reaching realm. Moreover, this high-rank blood demon couldn't be considered peak 1. It couldn't do anything to them for the time being. Brother Liao, there's someone up there. The female astral-reaching expert shot a glance at Yi Chun's location and said with a frown. The male astral-reaching expert forced back the high-rank blood demon with a blade strike, then said, "Don't mind him. This high-rank blood demon is troublesome. Don't let it approach." The pressure on the 2 increased greatly. Those who chose to enter the blood demon battlefield weren't good people. Sometimes, the threat from human experts was even more frightening than high-rank blood demons. At least, everyone knew that high-rank blood demons were enemies, while human experts could turn friends into enemies in an instant. The number of human experts who had died at the hands of the 2 was not few. However, they couldn't free themselves at the moment. Swish! All of a sudden, the high-rank blood demon abandoned its fight with the 2 and shot in Yi Chun's direction. In its opinion, Yi Chun's Zhen Yuan ripples were clearly weaker than the 2's. He should be easy to deal with. The man and the woman who picked up the mid-grade artifact exchanged a glance. They were husband and wife, and rarely had a falling out. They were no exception. At this moment, the two had the same thought. With Yi Chen's death, the storage ring would belong to them. They were well aware of how frightening high-rank blood demons were. On the low mountain peak, Yi Chen sneered. It's been a long time since I've tasted the flesh and blood of human experts. The high-rank blood demon turned into a beam of crimson blood light and pierced forward. Its speed was much faster than a mid-astral reaching expert. When the two were 10 meters apart, Yi Chen's sword left its sheath. The blue sword light was engraved with a sky-opening lotus as it cleaved apart the high-rank blood demon. What? So powerful! Not only were the two startled, but the high-rank blood demon was even more astonished. Its two halves quickly wriggled, continuing to attack Yi Chen from the left and right. Chi. Countless sword lights crisscrossed, forming a sword net. The moment the blood demon's two blood lights came into contact, they were shattered into pieces. Their intelligence scattered, and they quickly disappeared. Not good. Run. This person is an expert. The man pulled the woman's hand and fled into the distance, fearing that Yi Chen would catch up and kill them. Yi Chen faintly smiled. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. Under normal circumstances, he wouldn't kill. He could understand the two's actions. In the blood demon battlefield, everyone was extremely vigilant. Those who weren't vigilant had long since become nourishment for the blood demons. Chapter 332. It had been 2 days since Yi Chen arrived at the second floor of the blood demon battlefield. He had killed more than 30 mid-grade blood demons and 7 high-grade blood demons. Among them, there was a very powerful high-grade blood demon, roughly equivalent to a human late astral reaching expert, not much weaker than Corpse Man. Moreover, blood demons were different from humans. The higher their rank, the harder they were to kill. Even if one were to cut them into 7 or 8 pieces, they wouldn't die. Only by thoroughly scattering the blood demon would it be considered a true kill. Therefore, in situations of equal strength, it was usually the blood demons that killed the human powerhouses. The cases of human powerhouses killing blood demons were far too rare. The terror of the blood demon battlefield could only be understood by entering it personally. In these 2 days, I've obtained 3 low-grade artifacts, and not a single mid-grade artifact. Seems like finding a mid-grade artifact won't be that easy. Even if I find one, it might not suit me, and I can only sell it. Yi Chen flew in the sky neither too fast nor too slow. Having cultivated the restraining chi art, he wasn't too worried about becoming the target of the crowd. Of course, the restraining chi art's grade was too low at the astral reaching realm. It was still somewhat lacking compared to high-grade blood demons. Not far ahead, Yi Chen saw an ancient stone gate. A blood-red whirlpool slowly revolved within the gate, appearing especially eye-catching against the black-red mountain rocks. Blood Demon Battlefield is said to have several hundred conveyor gates. This is my first time seeing one. Entering the Blood Demon Battlefield from the outside, one would sometimes appear out of thin air, and sometimes one would appear through these gates. There was no pattern to it. Yi Chen had appeared out of thin air in the second floor. Flying over the gate, Yi Chen continued to search for mid-grade artifacts. Buzz! Not long after Yi Chen left, the blood-red whirlpool inside the gate sped up, and a human figure instantly shot out. He was wearing a black robe, and his complexion was pale and devoid of blood. No matter how one looked at it, it didn't seem to be his face at all. Jia. For human powerhouses, blood demons are very frightening. I, Corpse Man, have corpse blood on my body, which is simply not to the taste of blood demons. The man sneered as he took out a ghost face mask from his storage ring and put it on. Who else could it be but the Ghost Man? A blood-red color suddenly appeared on the ground near the stone door. As the blood-red light flashed, a mid-level blood demon jumped towards the Corpse Man. However, on the way, this mid-grade blood demon did not sense any chi and blood vibration from the Corpse Man. Therefore, it immediately stopped and wanted to retreat. Where are you going? Like a giant grasshopper, the Corpse Man leaped and appeared in front of the mid-grade blood devil, reaching out with his eagle-like claw. A shocking scene happened. The mid-grade blood devil, who had always been devouring other people's blood, soon shriveled up. It was devoured completely by the corpse man, leaving nothing behind. It is indeed a great tonic. The thicker the corpse blood, the stronger my recovery ability. The corpse man waved his left arm, which had been cut off by Yi Chun, and laughed proudly. There was no day or night in the blood demon battlefield. Only by relying on the hourglass in his storage ring could Yi Chun know how much time had passed. A day later, Yi Chun arrived at the center of the rocky ridge. A mid-grade artifact's aura vibration. A mid-grade artifact could amplify an astral-reaching expert attack power by 30 to 40%. The power contained within was enormous, and the aura vibration it emitted was naturally enormous as well. Generally speaking, if there was no one controlling it, the vibration produced by a mid-grade artifact could spread over 100 li. Of course, only astral-reaching experts could sense it from 100 li away. Clasping Yuan experts would need to be 10 li away to sense it. Yi Chun's soul power was exceptionally powerful. He could sense this vibration from 100 li away. Swish! Circulating his Zhen Yuan to the limit, Yi Chun shot towards the source of the vibration. Regardless of whether it was a mid-grade artifact or not, Yi Chun would not give up on a mid-grade artifact. After all, even the worst mid-grade artifact could be sold for 30,000 mid-grade spirit stones, which was an astonishing fortune for astral-reaching experts. Moreover, this mid-grade artifact didn't have any activity nearby, so it should be an ownerless object. Under Yi Chun's full speed, the 100 li distance only took 50 blinks of an eye. Over there, relying on his soul power, Yi Chun immediately sensed two mid-grade artifacts lying in the pit ahead. One was an axe, and the other was an inner armor. Two mid-grade artifacts. I can use one of them as well. Yi Chun revealed a smile. He could sell the axe and keep the inner armor for his own use. A mid-grade offensive artifact was important, but a mid-grade defensive artifact was even more important. An ordinary mid-grade defensive artifact could amplify defense by 30%. A high-grade one could amplify up to 35%, and a peak one could amplify up to 40%. Yi Chun was sure that with this mid-grade defensive artifact, his protective Zhen Yuan's defensive power would be comparable to a late astral-reaching expert's. And defense had always been Yi Chun's weakness. This is mine. The skilled were bold. Yi Chun wasn't afraid of the dangers waiting for him next to the pit. His figure flickered, flying straight over. Jia, another one has come to die. In the pit, a blood shadow appeared. It was a high-grade blood demon. This high-grade blood demon was extremely confident. He didn't conceal his aura at all, letting his berserk and savage aura spread out, enveloping several hundred meters. He raised his head and cruelly looked at Yi Chun, as if the latter was already his tonic. What a powerful high-grade blood demon! Yi Chun sensed that this high-grade blood demon was a bit more powerful than the one he had killed. It was more or less equivalent to a peak-late astral-reaching expert. As for blood demons using artifacts to attract human experts, this wasn't the first time Yi Chun had encountered one. Before reaching the rank of Blood Demon General, blood demons generally didn't use weapons. They themselves were frightening weapons. Their bodies would transform into a bloody light, and with a sweep, human experts of the same level wouldn't even have the leeway to resist. Their blood and chi would be devoured cleanly. Burn for me, Yi Chun sneered. Since he wasn't afraid of an ambush, he naturally had his own confidence. Burning fiercely with green lotus Zhen Yuan, Yi Chun turned into a human-shaped pillar of fire and shot toward the blood demon. Great! Your blood and chi are even more vigorous than late astral-reaching experts. You must have cultivated a body refining technique. After devouring your blood and chi, I might be able to reach the limits of high-grade blood demons and have the opportunity to attack the rank of Blood Demon General. The high-grade blood demon licked its lips. As soon as Yi Chun ignited his Zhen Yuan, his blood and chi boiled, surging with essence chi. I'm afraid you won't be able to devour my blood and chi, and you'll pay for it yourself. Yi Chun's speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he arrived within 100 meters of the blood demon. Green lotus sky. As the sword slashed out, the air froze. Sharp streams of chi formed into green lotuses, enveloping the blood demon within. A strange sword move, but it's useless against me. Break! The blood demon roared and punched out. A river of bloody light rushed out, shattering the deathly stillness of the air. Kacha! The ground cracked as the high-grade blood demon's eyes shone with an evil light. It raised its hand and lightly patted the void. Rumble! The air surged like boiling water, and a corrosive power erupted toward Yi Chun like a volcano, faintly taking the shape of a bloody head. Formidable! This high-grade blood demon has many attacking methods. Ordinary high-grade blood demons simply can't compare to it. Yi Chun didn't dare to be negligent. He raised the Star Scar sword in front of his chest, and a several meters long green lotus appeared on the blade, protecting his whole body. Pucci, the green lotus, which had an extremely high defense, was corroded by more than half. Not bad. You can actually block my ace move. Let's see how you block it this time. The high-grade blood demon clasped his hands and suddenly pulled them apart. A half-moon-shaped bloody light arc appeared in front of his chest. The bloody light arc flickered incessantly, emitting a vigorous aura that dyed the air blood red. Go! Accumulating power in his palm, he patted the bloody light arc. Under the high-grade blood demon's urging, the bloody light arc flickered as if it had teleported and strangely chopped toward Yi Chun's head. Why bother blocking? Just break it. Raising his left index finger, Yi Chun pointed at the bloody light arc Pucci. The deep green sword chi shot out like a waterfall and circled around the bloody light arc. The bloody light arc was split into two, and its power was greatly reduced. Destroy! Retracting his finger, Yi Chun punched at the broken bloody light arc. With a pung sound, the bloody light arc exploded. How is this possible? Not only can he release sword chi from his body, but his power is also so powerful. The high-grade blood demon's pupils shrank, feeling greatly surprised and troubled. Green Lotus Splitting Mountain. After destroying the bloody light arc with his left hand, Yi Chun's right hand did not remain idle. Holding the Star Scar sword, he slashed out a sword light imprinted with the sky-opening green lotus. The sword light was frightening and arrived in an instant. The high-grade blood demon no longer had the attitude of controlling the whole situation. He hurriedly condensed a bloody skull-like shield in front of his body. The sound of something breaking was heard as the sword light forcefully broke through the skull-shaped shield. In the Green Lotus sword art, the power of the Green Lotus Mountain was the strongest out of the 3 ace attacks. It was only second to the last half of the 7th ace attack, the Green Lotus accumulation. Combined with the 90% sword intent, it was almost indestructible. The sword light broke through the shield and slashed through the high-grade blood demon's chest. Damn it, I wasted 2 mid-grade artifacts for nothing. The high-grade blood demon knew that he was not Yi Chun's opponent, so he turned into a bloody light and drilled into the ground. Yi Chun sneered. His soul power seeped into the ground and quickly found the high-grade blood demon's traces. Then he slashed down with another Green Lotus Splitting Mountain. Rumble. The ground split open like a canyon, revealing the pitch-black depths. The sword light, which had expanded to several hundred meters in length, smashed down with an unstoppable momentum, shattering the continuously fleeing high-grade blood demon. The high-grade blood demon's miserable shriek before its death resounded from the depths of the ground. It was mournful and frightening. After killing the high-grade blood demon, Yi Chun's gaze fell on the 2 mid-grade artifacts in the crater. His palm pulled them over. The axe was 1 meter long, and the handle was dark cyan in color, carved with patterns. The edge of the axe had a faint ring of white light. When his fingers touched the white light, he felt a stabbing pain. It was not hard to imagine what kind of mind an astral-reaching expert would have when chopping down at an enemy with this axe. Putting away the axe, Yi Chun looked at the inner armor. The hardness of the armor was moderate, and its edges were carved with some fine patterns. On the pattern's lines, thin streams of light shuttled back and forth like a Zhen Yuan map. The chest of the armor was a bit thicker, but it was enough to resist a large degree of damage. Chapter 333. And in an inconspicuous corner of the armor, There were 4 small, ancient characters, Streamlight Armor. The Streamlight Armor is merely a defensive artifact. Logically speaking, its aura should be inferior to an offensive artifact, and not so ostentatious. However, in comparison, the offensive artifact's aura is inferior to the Streamlight Armor. It's at least a high-grade, mid-grade defensive artifact, and it might even be a peak mid-grade defensive artifact. Defensive artifacts of the same grade also had a difference in quality. If this Streamlight Armor were to be sold, it would definitely be worth close to 40,000 mid-grade Spirit Stones, while the axe would be worth 35,000 mid-grade Spirit Stones at most. Let's clear out the Jin Yuan inside first. The Streamlight Armor had already been used by someone, and the Jin Yuan of that person remained inside, fusing with the armor's energy. If he wanted to use it properly, he would have to clear out the other party's Jin Yuan. Of course, if he didn't clear it now, it would be cleared out in the future. It would just waste some time. The Green Lotus Jin Yuan poured into the Streamlight Armor through Yi Chen's palm. The armor glowed with a cyan radiance, with a faint yellow radiance. The yellow radiance faded bit by bit, and was eventually submerged by the cyan radiance. Done. Sensing that there was no other Jin Yuan aura on the Streamlight Armor, Yi Chen's Jin Yuan shook, and the stains on the armor's surface automatically disintegrated, leaving not a single speck of dust on it. Only then did Yi Chen take off his outer blue clothes and put on the Streamlight Armor. The size was just right. Buzz! The protective Jin Yuan spread out, and the air vibrated. So powerful, it amplified my defense by about 37%. Although Yi Chen was a peak early astral reaching expert, his Green Lotus Sword arts had already been cultivated to the 13th layer, and his Jin Yuan was incomparably pure. It was equivalent to the defense of a peak, mid-astral reaching expert. Now, with the amplification of the Streamlight Armor, his protective Jin Yuan had crossed a step, reaching the level of late astral reaching expert. Once my defense is up, my battle power will reach a whole new level. I'm very close to the level of the top 10 astral reaching realm sword artists. There were 3 basic factors that reflected the battling power: attack, defense, and speed. Yi Chen had rated himself as excellent attack, high defense, and high speed. High was the level of late astral reaching realm, while excellent was the level of peak level late astral reaching realm. Above excellent was the level of super, which was the level of top astral reaching realm warriors. For example, the Sword Elder's attack was at the super level. As for his defense and speed, they should be excellent, since the attack of sword artists had always been more powerful than their defense and speed. Of course, this was under normal circumstances. If he used the minor blood demon body, separating great art, Yi Chen's score would be even higher. His attack should be close to superior grade, his defense close to superior grade, and his speed close to superior grade. He would only be a few steps away from peak astral reaching experts. Unfortunately, as his cultivation increased, the effect of the minor blood demon body separating great art would decrease as well. Right now, it could only increase his battle power a bit. Once he reached mid-astral reaching realm, it would not have any effect at all. On the 4th day after Yi Chen entered the Blood Demon battlefield, a group of uninvited guests arrived at the Bloodstone Islands. Split into groups of 5 and stand guard on each of the islands. Once he comes out, immediately use the soul-chasing bird to follow him. Taoist Jin Huang could have arrived 2 days earlier, but in order to gather his men, he had to wait another 2 days. In order to kill Yi Chen, he had gone through a lot of trouble. Yes, everyone listened to the order. Nodding his head in satisfaction, Taoist Jin Huang said to the Rock Elder, "Old Rock, let's go in together. As long as that kid is still inside, there is an 80 to 90% chance that he will be able to reach the anti-demon fortress. This is our chance." The Rock Elder, who was about the same age as Taoist Jin Huang, sneered when he heard this. There are a total of 3 anti-demon fortresses in the 2nd layer of the Blood Demon battlefield. If we have enough time, finding him won't be a problem. Our understanding of the Blood Demon battlefield is not something that ordinary people can compare with. He's courting death. Of all places, he just had to run into the Blood Demon battlefield. All right, let's go in. Whoosh! Taoist Jin Huang took the lead to rush into the blood-red vortex, and the rock elder followed closely behind. The closer they got to the center of the rocky ridge, the more frequently blood demons appeared. Yichen had seen blood demons devouring the flesh and blood of human powerhouses more than once. Facing this kind of situation, he would choose to ignore it and continue his journey of treasure hunting. If he encountered a blood demon that did not have eyes, he would kill it with a single sword strike. There was a flat peak at the center of the rocky ridge, and an extremely huge metal fortress was situated on the peak. From the outside, the metal fortress had a total of 4 layers. The lowest layer had the most windows, one right next to the other. The second layer had the second most windows, and there was a certain distance between them. The third layer only had 100 windows, and there were independent balconies. The fourth layer could be said to be luxurious. The independent balconies were incomparably huge, and it was quite imposing. However, there were less than 10 of them. The metal fortress was enveloped by a layer of milky white light. From time to time, humans would escape into the light cover, and the blood demons that were chasing after them would all be blocked outside the milky white light cover, returning without any success. Come and kill me. After entering the light cover, the previously battered and exhausted human powerhouses stopped running. They turned around and burst into laughter, wantonly teasing the blood demons. The blood demon grimaced in pain. However, this light cover was not something that it could break. In fact, even thousands of blood demons would not be able to break this light cover. My brother died in your hands. Sooner or later, I will take revenge. The blood demons could not do anything to him, and he could not do anything to the blood demons either. Inside the light cover, he could not attack anything outside. After cursing for a while, he turned around and walked towards the gate of the fortress. Interesting. The second layer of the blood demon battlefield actually has this kind of metal fortress to protect human powerhouses. It is quite humane. Yichen was very clear about the cruelty of the blood demon battlefield. Human powerhouses were, after all, outsiders and were suppressed by the heaven and earth. On the other hand, the blood demons appeared and disappeared mysteriously and were impossible to guard against. One was in the open, while the other was in the dark. Human powerhouses had a lot of casualties. As for the conveyor gates, there were only a few hundred of them, and their distribution was irregular. Moreover, near the conveyor gates, there were usually blood demons lying in ambush, which made it even more dangerous. Even if one were to teleport out, if one wanted to come back again in the future, it would be very likely that one would be teleported to a dangerous place. However, with the metal fortress, it would be different. One could go in and rest for a while, and comprehend the experience gained from the bloody battles. With this fortress, staying in the blood demon battlefield for a year and a half wouldn't be a problem. It is a place to nurture one through battles. Yichen took a step forward and flew towards the metal fortress. Swish! At least a few bloodlights swept towards Yichen. Die! Green Lotus Chi Transformation. With a wave of the Star Scar sword, the illusory green lotus flickered, and dozens of sword chi shot out, tearing apart the bodies of the attacking blood demons. What a powerful human powerhouse! A high-rank blood demon stopped its momentum and let Yichen pass. The milky white light cover didn't repel humans. The moment Yichen passed through the light cover, he felt like he was being bathed in sunlight, feeling very warm. Swish! Landing on the ground, Yichen walked straight towards the fortress's gate. Outside the gate, a charming young woman saw Yichen. Her eyes brightened as she greeted him. Sir, you look unfamiliar. Is this your first time coming to the Demon Defiance Fortress? Demon Defiance Fortress? Good name. Yichen nodded. Yes. Are you the host of the Demon Defiance Fortress? He felt a bit strange. No, the Demon Defiance Fortress doesn't have a host. It doesn't belong to any power or individual. The young woman shook her head. Then why do you want to host me? The young woman forced a smile. Sir, to be honest, I don't have any food left. I wonder if you can give me some food. I'm willing to exchange it with spirit stones. Exchanging spirit stones for food? Yichen was a bit flabbergasted. Outside, a low-rank spirit stone was worth more than 2,000 silvers, and 2,000 silvers could buy a lot of food. Even if it was good food, it could still be put on the table. Could it be that she hadn't gone out for a long time? No, she couldn't go out. If that was the case, it would explain why she was exchanging spirit stones for food. That's right, 10 mid-rank spirit stones for 100 gene of rice and some dried meat. How about it? The young woman's face was full of expectation. Astral-reaching experts also needed to eat. In fact, although astral-reaching experts would go into seclusion for a few months, they still needed to eat during that time. Moreover, their appetite was 10 times bigger than ordinary people's. Only by reaching the Sea of Soul Realm would one be able to get rid of the problem of food. At this moment, Yichen was still pondering. The Blood Demon battlefield was extremely dangerous. It was very possible that one wouldn't be able to come out. Especially outside the fortress, there were a lot of powerful blood demons lying in ambush. The moment he entered, he had already suffered several attacks. If it were someone with a slightly weaker strength, they would have died immediately. Only powerful late astral-reaching experts could come and go as they pleased. However, even late astral-reaching experts couldn't guarantee their safety. If they encountered a peak high-rank blood demon, they would also have a hard time escaping. Thinking of this, Yichen touched his back. There was a withered patch of skin there, caused by being besieged by several powerful high-rank blood demons. Although he had swallowed the blood sunflower, the blood demons not only devoured chi and blood, but also flesh and blood. It would take a while for him to recover. Fortunately, he now had the streamlight armor, which was somewhat of a guarantee. Young master, have pity on me. I've stayed in the Demon Defiance Fortress for 2 years. It's not that I haven't thought of leaving, but those blood demons are extremely cunning. They've set up a lot of ambushes outside. Many people who go out die immediately. Only powerful late astral-reaching experts have a glimmer of hope. And in these 2 years, I've used up all my spirit stones in order to exchange for food. The young woman looked very pitiful. Coming back to his senses, Yichen took out a bag of rice and a bag of dried meat from his storage ring and threw them to her. I don't need your spirit stones, but you have to tell me about the Demon Defiance Fortress. Yichen had a funny thought. There must be a lot of astral-reaching experts like the young woman in the fortress. If he could get some food and sell it, he should be able to make a lot of spirit stones. After all, he had a lot of storage rings on him, including a mid-grade one. Of course, this thought only flashed through his mind. The Blood Demon battlefield was also very dangerous for him. Not to mention that he didn't have enough strength. Even if he did, he wouldn't do such a thing. He wasn't selling food, so it would be shameful. Then, he thought of another problem. This Blood Demon battlefield was definitely a trap. 2 out of 10 chances of survival was only an optimistic thought. Those who were lucky enough to get out through the conveyor gate would be fine, but those who didn't find the conveyor gate and arrived at the fortress would be trapped here for a long time. Good. Many thanks, young master. The young woman hurriedly put away the food and nodded happily. Chapter 334. The interior of the anti-demon fortress was very spacious. It was not that the first floor was big. In fact, the anti-demon fortress was hollow. Standing in the center of the bottom, one could see the second floor, the third floor, and the highest 4 floors. The edge of the corridor on each floor was surrounded by metal railings, so a huge cylinder could fill the interior of the anti-demon fortress. Speaking of the Demon Resistance Fortress, I have to tell you about the origin of the Blood Demon battlefield. In fact, the Blood Demon battlefield is a space that was torn apart by someone. It has existed for a very long time, dating back to the ancient era. Walking on the metal floor, the young lady explained to Yichen. Yichen was astonished. A space that was torn apart by someone? As far as he knew, only life and death kings could tear apart space. Not to mention ordinary life and death kings. Even Su King would not be able to do it. No, the disparity was not that big. Even 100 Su Kings would not be able to do it. This was already beyond the realm of life and death. It should be known that the Blood Demon battlefield was not smaller than a mid-sized country. One could destroy it, but it would be impossible to tear it out of its original space. What was certain was that the ancient era was very different from the world after the ancient era. At least, the level of the experts was different. In the ancient era, life and death kings could be found everywhere. However, after the ancient era, true spirit continent was ruled by life and death kings. It was impossible for existences beyond life and death realm to exist. The young lady continued, and these demon resistance fortresses were built from that time. They're the bases for humans to fight against the blood demons. As for the light barrier outside the fortress, it is a life and death realm light barrier. Using it to defend against high-grade blood demons is a waste of resources. There is no need to worry about it breaking, and there is no need to worry about the energy supply. It seems to be able to absorb energy automatically and has never weakened. Life and death realm light barrier. Truly extravagant. Yi-Chen clicked his tongue inwardly. If this light covered the sky above the Sky Cloud Martial School and the Yi family, no one below the life and death realm would be able to enter. Even normal life and death realm warriors might not be able to break through it. It would undoubtedly be an unimaginable safety guarantee. Of course, this was just a thought. Who would be able to move the light cover or the fortress to the outside world? The young lady pointed at the rooms on the first floor and said, "The demon-defying fortress allocates the rooms according to the strength. The weakest ones can only stay on the first floor, which is usually for early astral-reaching realm warriors. The second floor is for mid-astral-reaching realm warriors, and the third floor is for late astral-reaching realm warriors. The fourth floor is for peak astral-reaching realm warriors. However, there are 3 demon-defying fortresses in total, so there might not be that many astral-reaching realm warriors. Therefore, a lot of the rooms are empty." Yi-Chen asked, "The rooms are allocated based on strength. Do you decide it yourself?" The young woman smiled. "If you think you're strong enough to go to the second floor, then you can go. It's just that if you're really strong, then it's fine. If you're not, then you'll be blasted down and lose all face. So, in most cases, no one dares to try to climb up." "This is interesting." Yi-Chen rubbed his chin, thinking that it would not be a problem for him to stay on the third floor, unless the people on the third floor did not put Corpse Man and Jin Huang in their eyes. But the fourth floor, it was a bit of a stretch. The Sword Elder was qualified enough to stay there. Boom! Just as the young woman was explaining some things about the fortress to Yi-Chen, a person suddenly fell down from the third floor, landing heavily on the ground. "Huh, you're not strong enough, yet you still want to stay on the third floor? You're looking for death." Next to the railing of the third floor, a middle-aged man with a beard said with a cold expression, "Pooh!" The man puked out a mouthful of blood after landing on the metal floor. He stood up and ran away with a red face. "I forgot to tell you," the young woman suddenly said, "the rooms in the fortress have the effect of speeding up training. The first floor is the weakest, and the fourth floor is the most powerful. Therefore, the powerful warriors living on the second floor and above do not allow anyone to go over. If they do, they might be blasted down or even killed. Fortunately, everyone is quite well behaved in the fortress, and killing is rare. After all, if it causes public anger, even powerful astral-reaching realm warriors could be killed. It's not like it hasn't happened before." Yi-Chen nodded. Although his battling power was quite powerful, if there were dozens of mid-astral-reaching realm warriors attacking him, his life would still be in danger. "All right, thank you for telling me these things. I'm going to find a room to rest." Now that he had learned everything he needed to know, Yi-Chen planned to rest for a while to recover his condition and body. The young woman laughed. "I'm staying in room 96 on the first floor. The room next to mine is empty. Why don't you stay here?" "All right, my name is Sulan. I wonder what your name is?" In Sulan's opinion, Yi-Chen's Zhenyuan vibration was only at the peak level of early astral reaching realm, so he could only stay on the first floor. "Yi-Chen, I'm planning to go upstairs." Yi-Chen pointed at the third floor. Sulan did not see it clearly, so she thought Yi-Chen was pointing at the second floor. She frowned. "Although the training effect of the rooms on the second floor is quite good, what about you?" Normally, a peak-level early astral-reaching realm warrior would have a hard time winning against a mid-astral-reaching realm warrior, since there would be a huge difference in both quantity and quality of Zhenyuan. Yi-Chen did not explain anything as he started to walk towards the stairs. Be careful. Sulan shook her head as she thought to herself, I am still too young after all. Newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. The higher the rank, the lower the possibility of a cross-realm battle. When she had reached the peak level early astral reaching realm, it was not that she did not want to go to the second floor, but she was still kicked out in the end. On the second floor, some of the mid-astral reaching realm warriors saw Yi Chun and were a bit surprised. However, they did not do anything too extreme, since a peak level early astral reaching realm warrior had beaten a mid-astral reaching realm warrior before. Before understanding Yi Chen's true power, no one would dare to make any reckless moves. After a while, they would know whether he was a worm or a dragon. However, what shocked them was that Yi Chun did not stop at the second floor, but continued to walk toward the third floor. Is he crazy? The third floor is the place where late astral reaching realm warriors live. Even I would not dare to go up there. He is only a peak level early astral reaching realm warrior. He will be thrown out the moment he goes up. There would be no mercy at all. Perhaps he does not know the rules of the Demon Defiance Fort. Weren't we thrown out when we first came here? Let him suffer a bit. The warriors on the second floor were all waiting to see a joke. On the first floor, a lot of people were shocked, including Sulan, who had not left yet. Her mouth was wide open as she forced a smile inwardly. I have said so much. Did he not listen to me at all? Or did he have some kind of confidence? Everything in the fort was made of metal. Walking on it made a crisp metallic sound. He had arrived at the third floor. Yi Chun stopped and looked around. If there are people living in the room, the gems on the door will shine. If the gems don't shine, it means there is no one living in it. Yeah, there's an empty room here. Under everyone's gaze, Yi Chun walked towards the number 12 room on the third floor. Brat, who allowed you to come up here? The middle-aged man with sideburns stood in front of the door. He crossed his arms in front of his chest, looking at Yi Chun coldly. Yi Chun was not afraid of his aura at all. Isn't the rule of the Demon Defiance Fort that you can choose your room according to your power? I am powerful enough to live on the third floor. You are powerful enough to live on the third floor? The bearded man seemed to have heard something funny, so he laughed out loud. His white teeth shone with a cold light. I will give you one chance. Piss off, otherwise I will throw you down myself. Oh yeah? Make sure again. Yi Chun's voice turned cold. His green lotus, Zhan Yuan, exploded violently, along with his almost completed sword intent. The surreal air started to shake. Pap, pap, pap. The bearded man took 3 steps back. Yi Chun's green lotus Zhan Yuan was of high quality, but it was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that the latter's sword intent made him feel like he was suffocating. It was definitely more than 90% sword intent. No, it was close to completion. It was not that he had never encountered top astral reaching realm sword artists, such as the blood sword artist, who was an extremely powerful existence. However, the latter's sword intent was still not as powerful as the former's. If the latter's sword intent gave him the feeling of a surging tide, then Yi Chun's sword intent gave him the feeling of a stormy sea, which made it hard for him to breathe. Do I have the right? Yi Chun looked at him coldly. The bearded man let out a heavy breath. Yes, I have. All right then. Yi Chun was not the kind of person who would look for trouble. He did not want to do anything to the bearded man, so he brushed past him and entered the number 12 room. Scary young generation. Scary sword artist. Waiting until Yi Chun disappeared from his sight, the bearded man wiped off the cold sweat on his forehead. Just for a second, he felt like he was about to die. Fortunately, he did not do anything too extreme. Otherwise, he would not be sure if the latter would kill him or not. None of the people who entered the blood demon battlefield were kind-hearted. This is the sword intent. It even scared a late astral reaching realm warrior. Su Lan's face was full of disbelief. In the beginning, she thought that Yi Chun was only a lucky young man who had not been devoured by the blood demon and managed to make it to the fort alive. She did not expect that she would be completely wrong. Yi Chun was not a normal young man at all. The power he contained was way beyond her expectation. Perhaps he has the power to leave the blood demon battlefield. Let's wait and see. Su Lan was excited as she thought to herself. Where did this young sword artist come from? How come I have never heard of him? This sword intent is even scarier than the top astral reaching realm sword artists. Yeah, we were all wrong. If he had a higher cultivation, it would not be impossible for him to enter the fourth floor. Everyone who had noticed this scene began to discuss among themselves. Closing the door, Yichen looked around and found that the rooms on the third floor were quite spacious. They were well equipped, and there was even an independent training room. Arriving in front of the balcony, Yichen could see the scene outside the fort from where he stood. A lot of human warriors were entering and exiting, battling with the blood demons. Power is everything. I can see it everywhere. The blood demon battlefield is a good place. I will train until I reach the mid-astral reaching realm. After training in the top-ranked training room for a month, Yichen Jinyuan had already accumulated to the limit. He was only missing an opportunity to make a breakthrough. He believed that as long as the pressure was high enough, it would not be too hard to make a breakthrough. But if there was no pressure, then he would have to follow suit.